like an asshole or something. What was that live?
DJ,
Ah,
like
geez.
an asshole.
DJ.
I cannot
Oh man.
First thing to come out of your
on
mouth.
the radio.
Thank you for the
Oh, shit.
follow, Glacial 23. I hope you're not a DJ.
Sam.
If you are, we love
Oh,
you.
Sam is a DJ.
Oh,
He's a man
man.
of many things.
But it's 2020. Who is?
He played at NobCon.
He did. He played before Juanito.
Nice.
Yep. Kicked ass.
All right, let's see. What do we got going on here? All right, we're waiting on a couple raids to come through, so that's going to be SenseNet, Salvo, Maz eventually.
Maz is hanging up by his campfire still.
Yeah, so he might just choose to keep going, but that's all right. He'll eventually raid out. He has to stay up too late.
I generally don't either, but man, when Gear-Splaining calls me, I just got to do it.
Yep.
I've been meaning to watch this. I just figured if I had to be on it, I would.
It's the only
all
way
good.
I'll ever watch this shit.
I don't do it unless I'm involved. Damn.
Oh, we took like a
Pay
month
attention to the
off
people.
back. The Kama Sutra with Taco Bell thing is truly intriguing, actually. I think we have a lot of
Exercising my Kegel
content
muscles right now.
that... Nope, yeah, that derailed my entire joke. That was funnier.
Especially because I was muted when I said it, so it was completely out of context. You just came out of left field with like the Kama Sutra Taco Bell thing, super interesting. ...
Kegel muscles, what? Yeah. Yeah, I'm on a Mexican radio. Whoa. Oh man, we got some somber stuff to start off with today, though. This is gonna
Well,
be
you gotta start. You gotta start it on the downside.
yeah.
Dead things, Mikey. Dead things.
And then from there, we're gonna get a little bit louder.
Did people kick ass? And then we'll eventually be screaming while we're vomiting all over each other.
A little bit louder.
A little bit louder.
Vomiting on each other.
You got a Behringer pedal me now? What?
What?
Oh, that's in. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong chat. I'm looking at like 5 chats. God damn. God
I
damn.
I have a Behringer pedal.
Pay attention.
I originally bought it to take apart and circuit bent. I never did 'cause I'm lazy. I'm able to buy it for $20.
Raid.
SenseNet rated us. Yay.
Well, then I guess it's officially time
It is.
for Gear-Splaining 53.
Gear-Splaining.
This is our
53.
53rd
The
one.
vomitorium episode.
Yes, covered in bark. The green room is
Bring your own
green.
feather.
I will be beneath the bleachers, purging the Taco Bell.
All right, so for everyone who just raided over, welcome to Gear-Splaining. This is episode number 53. We have your hosts, Ix, Co, and myself, and our special guest this week, Mr. Sean Holt. For those of you who don't know, Sean likes synthesizers.
A little bit.
Yeah, so since that this hoodie, my head has grown to comical size, so the only way I can cover it is with this gigantic freaking hoodie. That is what it's. Yeah. No, it's not that cold. It's just covering up my headphones. Here we go. Yeah, I tried to cut my own hair. My wife did it. I totally have a quarantine cut.
I just shaved mine.
I shaved my head. Yeah, I Sean Holted mine.
Looks good. Oh my god, dude. Yeah, there you go. So back in
I look
Portland, there
like
was
an evil genius.
a barbershop called Donut Cuts, and if you had hair like this,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't charge you for a full price for a haircut. Their slogan was something like, "Why pay for a full haircut for half the hair?"
Oh yeah, you got
Raid.
There
So-
you go.
Salvo with the
Salvo
raid.
with the raid.
So Sean, you have what my people, I'm Jewish, call the meat yarmulke.
Yeah, I'm actually of Jewish descent as well. My grandparents were Jewish.
Oh, okay. So you know the meat yarmulke.
Yeah. I always heard it called a skin yarmulke or a leather yarmulke.
Yeah, okay. I guess it's really all the same joke, just slightly different
Yeah,
iterations
yeah.
of it. We got a ton of people
Different
here now. This is
substances.
great. This is fantastic.
Hi, ton of people.
SenseNet, Salvo, thank you so much for the raid. A1, what's happening? Mr. Basic,
A1.
fantastic to see you. Open set.
Wow, that's
Yes, open set. I got to get to you afterwards because this is the weekend if you have weird hours. Blackpool, hello. Gas enablers are indeed back. And we have a very special guest, Sean Holt. We're going to start off on a very down note, though. So our first news story, our first thing that we're going to cover, we're going to get right out of the way. Rest in peace, Little Richard. Do I need to explain to people who Little Richard is? No, I do not. He was a rock and roll innovator. He made a huge difference in the way people sang and the way people approached music and performed. He was ostentatious, bombastic, and influenced an entire generation of people who came after him, ranging from the Beatles all the way through probably iteratively to today's musicians. He was such a focal point and an innovator for performance that it absolutely irreplaceable, absolutely key, critical, and important, and he will be missed. That said, I do want to point out one quick thing. I was not aware that he was actually still alive. I did not know that. I know that's kind of an awful thing to say, but I honestly, that was the first thing that came through my mind. I really honestly did not realize that he was still with us. But I did want to say at the top of the show, thank you for your contributions to music. You will be missed, Little Richard. All right, that out of the way. Let's move on to the next thing. Does anybody else have anything to say about Little Richard?
His head was ginormous. I met him once. Anyways.
Yeah, that's actually why I did this. So the joke about the hoodie before when we were getting ready to go was so Ix and Sean have both met Little Richard. They both were like, he has a huge head. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna put the hood up, make my head huge. So yeah, Tutti Frutti.
Waves at Blackpool. One thing about Little Richard, growing up all the way until I was seeing kind of his obituary photos and everything else, right? Dude has the most striking facial features. Like everything is
really
just
does.
so well defined. You see him, he's like the OG HD. Like I don't know.
You think that
Later
was
in life,
natural,
that
though,
was
or
a
you
lot
think
of
it was
plastic surgery. There was a
I'm
lot
sure.
of, yeah.
Because I'm sure there's like a lot of
His
Karens
makeup
that
was
like
on
they're going to their
point.
doctors going, make me look like this.
Yeah.
I wonder if
Right?
it's you guys both thought he had a huge head. I wonder if that's like a biological resolution thing, right? Like he has striking features. Well, yeah, because his head's twice the size, so you can see all the detail.
We can see every pore staring
Like,
at us.
There were
when
no
we see him on
pores.
TV, we're just making
No,
his head
no,
the
there
normal
wasn't.
size, but it has 10 times the amount of detail. But really, it's twice as large as everyone else's head. It's just getting shrunk into that.
He was
by
a
brain.
living Snapchat filter.
That does make sense, yeah.
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 Anyway, rest in peace. We have an awesome show. There's a lot of gear news. The gear news started breaking last week, and it did not stop all the way through to today. There's some Papa John's news for regular viewers.
Hold up. Mr.
Hold up.
Basic. Thank you. Continue.
Face of Bo.
Face of Bo. That's right. And if you follow that thread all the way down, I don't know if you have, Mr. Basic. Did you find out who Face of Bo actually is? Crazy. Anyway, continue.
Lot of mercy.
Lot of mercy.
Lot of mercy.
By the way, that person who is the Face of Bo also has very striking features. Interesting.
Fascinating.
Illuminati confirmed. Woo!
Luminati's confirmed. Are we going right to pizza news?
I like that.
Let's just skate right into it then. I was saving this for
Off we
later,
go.
but it's Papa John's time, everyone. So this is not.
We need to like have like a Papa John theme whenever there's Papa John news.
Are we just gonna do it?
Let's just do it.
All right, we're doing it.
This is not peak Papa John.
Welcome to my crib.
Ooh. Ooh. What?
Start off with the clock. Eagles go up several thousand feet. They mate all the way down, and right before they hit the earth, they separate, so they don't get hurt or killed. Perfect timing. Eagles mating clock spins 4 times an hour. Check it out.
What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Man, I really should have got into pizza, not music.
Here is the library. This is where I film a lot of footage. This is where I work, write letters.
Library, my ass. This pizza eating douche doesn't read.
Huh.
It's just empty pizza boxes like lined up on a bookshelf.
Maybe
It's like the autobiography of other fast food people like Colonel Sanders.
Right?
Yeah. It's not peak
Eagles
Papa John.
mating clock.
Eagle mating clock.
Eagle mating clock that spins 4 times a day, but
Yes.
he said, check it out, and then shows one shot of the eagle mating clock and then decides to show us the library of pizza boxes.
And talk about how eagles mate, because, you know, he apparently has studied this in his Papa John university. I would imagine they probably have classes on eagle mating.
Well, he got divorced, so I think the eagle mating clock is like for him when he brings home women who love pizza. And he's like, check out the Eagles doing it. And
I thought you were going to
he's
say
the
that.
kind of douche
I
who'd
thought
be
you were-
like watching the Eagles do it, get the women going. You know,
Is it
that's
about
I thought you
that
were going to
time?
say that the eagle mating clock was a spank bank. Like, you just like sit there and goes, that's so hot.
I'm sorry,
I
ladies.
love watching eagles have sex.
The eagle is facing
Maybe-
west. It's business time.
Maybe there's like a secret thing where you pull one of the talons or something, like a rape dungeon opens up. like a pizza rape dungeon.
yeah. There's a theory going around. Some people say that his closet is just that shirt over and over again. Just he's got 500
think so.
copies of
It's
that red shirt that says
500
Papa.
red Papa shirts with a brush script. And they all smell like pepperoni and burnt olive.
Yeah, exactly. And he's
'Cause
totally unaware.
I had 40 pizzas last night.
Yep,
I didn't eat them, but I had them.
I had them. They were had.
You know
There's
when
lots of
I'm
having
facing
going on.
west.
All right,
I had
there
them
is.
biblically.
I had every inch of them. There was no real good Placido Domingo news. There was, however, some Placido
Sorry.
Domingo news. He's
Is there-
recovered from COVID-19, and he's going to be doing his first performance since the sexual harassment allegations. You know, because fuck yeah, let's just fucking do that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So,
It-
yeah. Congratulations to all 4 people that are going to see him standing 6 feet away from each other.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like you had COVID-19.
Don't forget your mask
yeah.
and your you know, probably your pepper spray.
Social distancing is probably how they will avoid getting raped by Placido Domingo. At least,
Probably.
because fuck that guy.
Uh,
All right, we have one other celebrity that we're gonna come back around to. It's too funny not to, but we're gonna probably want to get some gear. What should we start with, guys? There's so much news, and I want to
God,
do at
there's
least
so
2
much.
pieces
Where
of
do
gear.
we begin?
We could go reverse
Shit.
chronological. There was news yesterday. Big news.
Or we could
We can
start
go reverse chronological.
software into hardware, hardware into software.
Who
Reverse
has a D20?
chronological.
Let's do with our Arteria news.
Okay.
All
I
right.
think that's the coolest news to start with, because it's literally yesterday.
Oh, sorry.
What are you doing, Sean?
Well, no, I was thinking about sausages and I fell asleep.
You're thinking about sausages?
Yeah, ooh, Papa
Think
John.
Think about them sausages.
Think about them sausage on my shirt and them
The-
eating eagles.
Yeah, right. The OBXA came out yesterday. Arturia's big announcement wasn't a piece of hardware like we all kind of thought it was going to be. I think we all thought it was going to be a piece of hardware, right? But it wasn't. Instead,
Yeah.
it's this incredibly hungry like Papa John when he sees a pizza for your CPU cycles VST that apparently also sounds absolutely amazing, though.
So good. It's so freaking good. And it's so consumed. I mean, I've got a 10-core overclocked CPU, and I just loaded this up with 1 bar of MIDI and like 2 chords, like, and pressed play, and I was at 46% resources. I'm like,
So far
okay.
as I can tell, that's Arturia's way. Like their plan is
Yeah.
to be, hey, yeah, fuck your CPU. That's how we're making it sound good.
yeah, okay, just as a comparison really quick, so I fired up Pigments, also by Arturia.
Mhm.
With
Not
these,
known to be good on your CPU.
right, with the same MIDI, with all the synths active. I had like a granular and then like a 3-thing analog with every effect turned on, and it was at 7%. So,
Yeah.
and then for the CS80V, I fired that one up, same exact thing, except I turned on the ARP and a bunch of other stuff, and that was 5%. So it is this
How
one
much do you think it-
specifically that is kind of broken right now, but it sounds so good.
How much do you think of that as like the graphic interface, just like choking your CPU?
I mean, unless they like render the lines as actual like
Yeah.
individual texture
Right.
maps or something. I don't
I
know.
That's what I always wonder though, because it's like they always look like I don't know. It's
That's a
just
good
too-
question, Salvo. I'm gonna find out right
Leon
now.
tested it already. He said that it's more CPU hungry than the booklet easel. It is more. Yeah, it actually uses more. Their philosophy seems to be that they're basically gonna peg whatever the CPU generation that's out right now, and
Mm.
then fucking in 10 years it's useful. But it's
I'm
also
still
kind of
running 6,
amazing.
so.
Yeah, I got V7.
Yeah, I looked at.
I'm not
upgrading
gonna
it,
spend
but I
50 bucks
barely
on
use
it. I
V6.
decided. I maybe in the future I will, but I have an OB6 sitting right there. I don't need to spend extra money to get that sound.
Yeah,
I'm all good.
yeah, you've already got it.
But on the other hand, it also allegedly sounds really awesome. And
It does.
a no compromise synth that doesn't give a fuck about your CPU, it may not be resource efficient, but there's a certain beauty to that, if you ask me.
So that was 20%, which is pretty beefy. That's a lot.
Yep.
And let's see the OBXA. And what's the one called? Everyday. Where is it? Everyday. Oh. Where the hell are you?
What the hell?
Everyday World Art. There we go.
I'm right here.
And play. Yeah, 42, 38, 39, 42. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's 3 voices too.
Yeah. Oh.
So
yeah,
this thing
yeah.
is pretty tough. This is not an easy CPU on your computer. But that's all right. That's how this goes. It's time
Welcome to
to
the
play
future.
the game. Yep. 10 years from now, that thing's going to work and be able to multi-track with it and stuff. It'll be great.
I actually don't own any Yuhi synths yet, Blackpool. I know. I'm deficient. I do not own the Diva, but if somebody can
Yeah.
chime in, let me know.
I've heard that Diva is pretty bad, but I think that this is allegedly worse. This is the new king. That
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about how hard it is on CPUs. People are having a hard time even making demos because they find that their computer from a few years ago is having a hard time keeping up with it. Anyway, so that's
Wow.
that one.
I know that problem.
Yep.
Well, that's the thing. The OBXA will just be, it's a bounce. It's a bounce VST. You pull it, you play your MIDI, and you bounce it, and you put it away.
Yep. Lock it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Run away.
I'm sure they'll get it patched
that's
up
crazy.
at some point.
A little bit. I mean, they didn't do much for the Buchla. I mean, it's still the hog.
Well,
CPU is better than it was 3 years ago when it
20's
came out.
reasonable. That, and you're just doing kind of your stuff anyway. Like, I think with that particular one, it's tough because you're gonna want to be kind of melting the filter and doing all kinds of fun things with it over time. And now you kind of have to pre-plan that a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't great. Or you can just save the
What-
presets. I don't know if you noticed that, and I don't know how long this has been a thing, but my first experience with an Arturia synth was Pigments. And so when I started using it, I'm like, holy shit, their patch management is like really good. Like the patch browser and the saving and copying and modifying and putting together the little like playlists and everything. Like this is really good. And then I got the V collection and went, oh, they all have this. I wonder if this has always been a thing or if they just added it or something. This is amazing. So yeah, it's not really a concern because if you get a patch that sounds really cool and you have to bounce it, just save it. And then if you need to put something in later, just pull it back up.
The other thing you can do is if you really want to just jam, you could just buy a Buchla music easel. You don't get patch management then, though. That's true.
Buchla is
Yeah,
Italian,
easy.
so you can't afford this.
on the radio.
Yeah. Okay, so Differential, thank you very much for the follow. There was
Gracias.
some discussion, and I posted this in the Gear-Splaining room on the Discord, and I just wanted to quickly follow up on it. Just looking at the different modular communities out there, I've identified
Oh, yeah.
4, and there might be more. I've identified 4 distinct ones that kind of had their own insanity. There's the Eurorack modulars. That's the dominant one. Everyone knows about that. Gets into that. Then there's the Buchla people, right? They're similar to the Eurorack people, except they got to either have a lot more or a lot less money. then there's like the 5U people who buy stuff off synthesizers.com, which we're gonna get to. That's its own version of crazy, but that's kind of like also like this throwback that there's like I mean, it's very Moog established the format, and a lot of the modules are identical to what they put out, or are the things that they put out. So there's that entire world that, and it runs at a hotter signal, so it's got more resolution. It sounds great. But then the craziest one that I've found are the Serge guys, or Surge. I'm not even sure. Those guys are nuts.
Surge.
I haven't heard music that's good that comes from them.
Heard some really unique noises, but so question, I know this doesn't necessarily fit into the creative world, but has anybody looked into like signal processing rack world? Yes,
What do you
no.
mean?
Like
I mean, I run my guitars and stuff through modulars all the time.
like buying
my-
buying the little shuttle or lunchbox or shuttle that you would put. It's like a 3U, and then you load it up with these modules, but they're like deep module. They're throwbacks from the like console days, and basically you're building your own console thing.
Oh,
And, yeah.
500 series.
Yeah, well,
like a
yes, yeah, they're similar form factor ish. Are they the same?
Yeah, same unit size, different power and everything.
Are we talking the
you see
500
lots
series?
A lot of that in like in recording studios and stuff.
Yeah.
You'll find that. Yeah, that's. I would love to get into that. I just I keep spending my money on other shit.
Me too. I keep like looking at it and then going like, oh, that Elysia thing's pretty cool. Okay, I can. No.
See, I think that stuff is really cool, but in order for me to really decide to go there, I would need to take another step into more of a recording studio direction rather than into going deeper on the synth end. And when I say recording studio, I mean like I'd need to be more concerned with live mics and external processing than I currently am.
Mm-hmm.
The
It
500
almost
series
would-
stuff is awesome though.
I am.
You would almost have to like actually be making a living at. You'd have to somehow have to pay for it. I think
Yeah,
And
exactly.
when you have a recording studio that's at that level, I think you're that's when you start working with
Mm-hmm.
other artists and whatnot.
Because one of the big differences is I think that you can become passionate about some of those 500 series things, but I think it's something a lot less than becoming passionate about a synthesizer. A synthesizer is something that it's an instrument. You can fall in love with it. You dream about
Right.
that. No one goes to sleep and dream. Maybe some people do, but a lot less people go to sleep and dream of like amazing.
I dream of
preamps.
wires.
There's some pretty sultry compressors and EQs out there, man. Just
Yeah.
saying.
Well, and then there's the whole Serge people.
I dream of an oral exciter.
Don't
The
we all?
Serge folks are all like, it's the DIY community. They expose every single possible endpoint, and when you watch the videos that they make, it's more like they're all interested in just like doing scientific tests with audio. It has like less
They're
to do
they're
with
definitely
music.
like the audio scientists than they are musicians.
Yeah, that's a lot more what it is. Even like the most esoteric modular person who's kind of like a live sculptor, right? They're not going for a song. They're not going for a jam. They're doing like a mood, a material like that. But these guys are like, behold this triangle wave and the 10 different ways you can handle it with its.
Have you ever seen the
Did
guy?
you know you could have 20 inputs on one oscillator?
Have you
Crazy, huh?
ever seen that guy who sometimes he subs in on FabFilter's channel? I think he actually does most of the FabFilter videos. He narrates them and I think he puts them together.
Yeah.
That guy's great. And yes, he's more of an audio scientist. Like, hi, we're going to take a look at the way that this EQ fucks up your audio with phase. And then, yeah, here's a triangle wave. Notice the harmonics that are going off into the 384 kilohertz range. Nobody cares about those, but they will bounce back in about 14 years and fuck up your mix.
Differential.
And
We
your
could
dog
definitely
will hate
talk
you
about
for it.
Pittsburgh for sure. We'll definitely talk about that.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, Pittsburgh
And
has a
the
new, delay out.
Blackpool
It's amazing.
Blackpool made a good point about the video modular people.
Yeah,
That's
that's-
another class.
The
of-
erogenous tones guys,
A
yeah.
whole new world
Yeah,
of
those guys are
crazy.
like, I don't even know.
What
They have their
about the
own
video?
crazy.
Oh,
Is that what we're talking about? The guys who make the video projections? Not
Yeah.
just
Erogenous
like-
tones guys, yeah.
yeah. I was thinking of the ones that use the plugins. And I'm like, why would you buy an actual synth? I could just do it on my computer now.
Well, they
Yeah,
have the
you're
same
right.
riff, right? They have the people who do like computer generated stuff, and then you have like this emerging world of, well, we do analog video synthesis with modular video synthesis stuff, and check it out, it looks exactly
And
like when your
RCA
VCR
cables.
was fucking up. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it is amazing, and it is. They're right. That's the thing, is they're totally correct in that it is amazing.
Mhm.
Let's get to our next actual topic. I'm gonna call it. This is the one that's most exciting to me, and you guys can go to whatever's next for you. But for me, it's
Boulder.
the Moog Subharmonicon.
Yeah.
This is truly
Man, I
cool
am
shit.
so. I want one, but I don't know if I need it.
You need
You
it.
don't.
I need one.
You don't.
Look at all that empty space over there in that box.
Yeah, but
There's specifically enough room for one.
this section, the section on the left, is really kind of interesting.
It's
Yeah, the little
unique.
sequencer, though. Mm-hmm.
There's nothing else
is.
out there that does that.
If
That's
they
what's
just
cool
made the
about it.
sequencer without everything else.
Well, you can take the sequencer out and control your own 6 oscillators
Yes, but
if
by
you
then I'm
wanted
buying
to.
the whole unit anyway. You know what I'm saying? You know, if
Yeah.
they sold this up. If it was, yeah.
To me, this is the continuation of the reasons why I love Moog so much. That is that they've never rested on their laurels. They always tip their hat to their past and rely on its strengths while they're continuing to innovate and make fantastic new products that are really thoughtful as well as future retro. So for those who don't know, the Moog Subharmonicon is in their small rack series that can be converted to Euro rack. It's a semi-modular. It's like the Mother 32 or the DFAM. And what the concept behind it is subdivisions. So subdivisions like the sub oscillator that you might find on any synth, right? Which is, it just takes one of the oscillators, cuts it in half, and feeds that output out, right? Gives you more bass or whatever. So this one has 2 oscillators that subdivide in total into 6 total independently sequenceable sub oscillators. So instead of trying to do a sequence of 2 different synths, it's saying, well, take your chord and then move all the subcomponents around within it. That's interesting. That's also complex, and it's not something we do very often. The other thing that it does that's really interesting, and this happens on the sequencer section, is it takes rhythms and subdivides them in interesting ways. And you can make cross assignments between the different oscillators, motions, and then those rhythmical subdivisions to create these evolving, morphing patterns that happen on these low tones, or you can punch it up higher and have it happen on higher tones. But your fundamental is up top, not at the bottom anymore. So those 2 things combine with a very large patch bay to make it, and the patch bay is what you'd expect. It gives you modulations and controls over basically everything that you see there, as well as the ability to control it externally with other gear. So you can take its sequencer CV out and use it to drive other instruments. It's truly unique. If you've listened to my favorite one this week that came out was the Mylar Melodies video.
I love that guy.
If you have not, I highly recommend putting on headphones, closing your eyes, and listening to him play, because he takes this and he's like, you could just jam it. Like, hey, guess what? This is a perfect piece of gear for someone who just likes to play for 2 hours and sees what happens. And it is. It's wonderful. It's relaxing in the meditative way, and it also can develop tension as you play with the harmonics musically, and you're able to, just watching him play, you're able to push your way there. I love it. It's absolutely got a future place in my rig. I'm going to build it with the triple stack with the DFAM and the M32. I'm going to get that coming in. I'm going to have that cool little, ding, ding, ding stack going. And I can't wait. It's the most exciting thing.
I can send you mine.
You got the triple
stack frame. Yeah, the triple stack frame.
You don't have it hooked up anymore?
Well, I have the Mother 32 and the DFAM, one of them, because I have a Mother 64, really, because I have 2 of them. I have those in my in my modular box already, so I pulled them out.
Gotcha.
And then the other Mother 32 is sitting on the side. But I mean,
all right. Well, I'm about 2 months
literally
off.
Skinned the Mother 32s. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I'll just send
I
it
think
to you.
I got one of those later on.
Pay for shipping.
For my DFAM.
Just pay for shipping and I'll get it over
I
to you.
actually ended up, I had the mescaline system from Full Tech, and I actually mounted it in one of my Pittsburgh cases over here. And I've been really happy with it mounted in there. And then over there, I have my DFAM right next to it. I absolutely love that synthesizer. I think it's fantastic. do all kinds of like cool like kyoto drum type stuff. It's fun.
I like it a lot. Lately, I've
It's
been
so
playing a
grumbling
lot
fun.
with cross modulation off of it. It
Mhm.
makes some wonderful tones that way. Yeah, it's a great form factor Blackpool. Let's talk to you, Sean. Let's go into your story because you're a new artist. You're new here
Hi.
on Gear-Splaining. So let's first drop some links so people can buy your stuff or follow you where you are. So what's the best thing for someone who's watching right now to do to check you out further and hear your music?
Well, go to Bandcamp, which is where I do most of my my stuff. It's pretty simple. It's SEAN-HOLT .bandcamp. I'll send you the link right here at band.com. And yeah, that's, you can find everything there. I've been pretty busy for the past two and a half years or so. Ironically, since I got sober, I suddenly was able to put out a shit ton of music. Yeah, my music, it kind of ranges from kind of dark and moody to loud and kind of post-industrial sort of stuff, I guess is what I would call it. I don't know. You know, I grew up as in teenager years as a goth kid, Skinny Puppy fan, and, you know, Noise Mountain and all that. And as I got older, I got into EDM stuff, and then that got horribly boring really fast. And I don't know, I took a break from music for a few years, and then here I am. So
first thing, everybody I've met from Cleveland includes industrial in their explanation of what kind of artist they are.
Have you ever been here?
Yeah,
Oh,
I did a weekend there.
Just breathing the air.
I went like 2010 to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and actually had an awesome time. I thought that Cleveland was actually a lot of fun. I mean, we stayed within walking distance. We did one day at the Hall of Fame. We partied downtown. There's a taqueria. There was a tequileria. We went to the alumni club.
Hold on. Did you go to a place called Tequila Ranch?
Yeah.
I used to be the house sound guy there. Back when we used to have live bands.
Nice.
Yep. I left Cleveland in 2010. I moved out to Portland for a few years.
All right.
Yeah, I used to be the house sound engineer there.
It was awesome. We stayed at, I think, the Renaissance.
It's where I used to work.
That's where you used to work. All right. So everyone in Cleveland knows the things that we did. So maybe there's only 5 things to do, and we did the 5 good things. Did you guys work at the alumni club?
Did you go to the art museum?
We did not. No, we did.
Oh my god, that's like the only reason really to come to Cleveland. It's an amazing art museum.
Well,
we did the rock and roll.
Me.
Oh.
Yeah.
And hang out with you guys. Yeah. I'd go back and do it again. It was a really good trip. Quite honestly, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, every musician, every electronic musician in Cleveland apparently, it just made industrial music at some point. Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it's because I think we all used to hang out with each other at the goth club, and we were all into electronic music. So there's probably other electronic musicians in Cleveland that weren't into this whole thing, but we don't know them.
Sure.
Because they never hung out with us.
So the first night we got there, we went to the alumni club. This is just a quick stupid story. We went to the alumni club, and we were drinking and having fun. And the next night we went there, and we realized that there's an entire other club in the back of the alumni club. Like the front half has like, it's got like, maybe it's gone. I don't know. It has like it's
gone now. Yeah.
Motorized tower or whatever that people ride. I don't know what those are called. Motorized bulls. And then, so it's that kind of place, and it plays like top 40. And then eventually, if you just walk to the back and it's kind of empty, you get to the back. There's a packed club in the back, and it's playing like it's playing like top 40, but like house and hip hop. And yeah, I just thought it was funny that there's a very big club in the back of the alumni club that is not the alumni club, but to get to it, you have to go through the alumni club.
It evolves from top 40 and Electric Bowl to Beatport top 100.
Top 40 hip hop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was like that.
Still a bunch of bull.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Sean, tell us a little bit more about your music and your current journey and what you're doing.
Well, let's see here. I bought my first synthesizer, I think, in 1994 when I was about 15. It was a Korg Poly 6. I wanted a big digital keyboard that, like, you know, all the cool shops had and stuff. But obviously I couldn't afford it. But so I bought this Poly 6 for like $50.
Whoa, nice.
I was working for my uncle painting apartments at the time, you know, child labor laws and such. And then a few months later, my neighbor gave me a drum machine. He gave me this god awful drum machine called the TR-808, and I absolutely hated it. So I traded it to a buddy of mine for a Roland R8.
Oh.
Yeah, was before they were a lot of money, and I didn't realize none of us realized what we had. And I was so excited to get this TR-8 because it had kind of that sort of Nine Inch Nails skinny puppy drums sort of sound to it, and that real like digital kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but in hindsight, I was an idiot for getting rid of the 808. A few years later, I asked him about if he still had it. He's like, "No, dude, I sold it for like $3,000."
No.
Oh, bitch. Unfortunately, my Korg Poly 6 got stolen out of my apartment years later. So I had a industrial project in the early 2000s called Dust Head. It was not good. Andrew can testify to that.
I remember.
I'd always made ambient music on my own, like in my room, but I'd never let anybody hear it. Like nobody would ever want to listen to this drony weird crap for 2 hours. And then after Dust Head, I kind of, I don't know, just kind of disappeared for a while. And then I moved out to Portland. I started an EBM band out there called 357. And I was playing keyboards in a few bands here and there, doing some touring with bands and stuff as a live stage musician. And then I just got really bored of it really quickly. And was just kind of like, you know, how many times can I write a song that goes, you know, it's just, I wanted to do something different. So I deleted all the software synths on my, stolen software synths on my computer, and said, I'm going to go back to using hardware. Kind of going back to my roots sort of thing. And we have this concert series, the show series in Portland called Bolt Divers at the Lovecraft. And it's all live hardware, no computers allowed, no backing tracks, unless it's coming from your sequencer or something. So I had some like little things like, you know, an MPX-8 and a little drum machine and a sequencer. And I think at the time I had a Eurorack with only one module in it. It was maths. And I was running into my Arturia microgroup. And I did like this wall of noise set, and it was awesome. It was loud and huge. And one of the greatest moments of my life, I'm sitting there packing up my gear after my set, and I hear this guy come over to me. He's like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I caught your set. I heard some of the stuff you did on SoundCloud. He goes, I'm been following it a little bit. I think what you're doing is really cool and interesting. And I was like, oh, hey, thanks. Holy shit, you're Paul Barker. And it was Paul Barker from Ministry and Golden Cox and that other band that he was in.
Let in the Gold.
Let in the Gold, thank you. Which is funny because I actually played a module on the spot with Let in the Gold. But anyhow, and I was just like, I don't care what I do the rest of my career. This is all that I need. It's Paul Barker telling me he liked my music. And at the time I was going under the handle Full Tech. And I played around the Northwest with that for a while. And then when I moved to Cleveland, I was just kind of burnt out on the idea of having a name and a brand, and I just started using my own name. And I was still doing kind of rhythmic music, like with I felt like anytime I played live, I had to have drums of some kind. And then a magical night happened one day. I went to go see the band soooo, or Sun, I don't know what the hell they're called, these kids nowadays and their names. And as I was watching this show, it was just, there were moments I couldn't breathe because it was so fucking loud, and like this air just disappears. It's weird. But it dawned on me, I was standing, I looked around and said, holy shit, the Agora is packed. And like there were like famous people there, like the band Rancid was there hanging out, the Black Keys, the White Stripes, you know, and it was kind of neat to see other musicians coming to see other musicians. And it dawned on me, I'm like, this is just ambient music done with guitars. And it kind of occurred to me that I don't have to follow what I used to do. And I started just kind of abandoning those ideas that had been pounded into me from industrial music, that you have to have some sort of beat, you have to have some sort of I don't want to say rhythm, but for lack of a better word, because there's still rhythm in my music. And I decided that I was kind of gonna start doing that live more, because that's what I was doing on my albums, but my releases. But I wasn't really doing it live, and I kind of felt like I was lying to people. I'm like, hey, cool, you like my set? Buy some music. It drones on for 2 hours, and it's not gonna sound anything like what I just did. And I've noticed that since I've been doing it, being honest, I guess, I've gotten a better response. I was playing in Akron back in, I think, in November at
Akron?
What was it? Akron, Ohio. Yeah.
LeBron town, huh?
Who? I don't pay attention to hockey.
It's a game with the shuttlecock.
Oh, okay, right.
The giant shuttlecock.
Playing a show at this art gallery, and I just took a little tiny system with me, a little 84 HP doodad, and had some modules in it, and I'm playing this real droney, echoey, spacey set, and I don't hear anybody in the crowd talking, so that kind of scared the hell out of me. And I rarely ever looked up from what I'm doing. I looked up, and every single kid, and these were kids, it was an art gallery show, so they were like probably between 16 to 20 years old, and every single person was standing there looking at me with their phones put away and not talking. And there's probably about 70, 80 people there, and I couldn't believe it. I was just like, this is refreshing. This is refreshing, because I don't know how many times you go play a set and you hear some dude in the back of the, I saw Metallica on 36, and I have 5 guitars, and my wife doesn't like my mullet, and it's kind of disheartening. And one of the reasons I don't play around here very much, there's a little bit of stuff for us to do here, like the noise launches and the stuff we do at Andrew's Lodge, and I did have a series called Synth and Read planned, but this little virus thing kind of messed. In fact, actually, one was supposed to happen tonight, but we ended up canceling all of them until whenever. I actually canceled probably somewhere around 36 gigs of my own up until December, and even that's kind of up in there at this point. So, but yeah, so that's basically what I do musically. It's I jokingly call it Rust Belt ambient or smooth industrial.
Smooth industrial. I love that.
Smooth industrial. It's like it's like yacht goth.
Like FM yacht goth. These are good terms. It's like the quiet bloop. Like you're listening to the sounds of the quiet bloop.
The spookily dudes. Instead of the spookily dudes.
The spookily dudes. Smindustrial, says Lords. That's it.
Smindustrial.
Industrial. Yeah. So
that chill saturation. All right, so your gear.
Sound of yacht goth.
Yacht goth. Yacht goth is like douche goth. Like, hey man, do you question existence, Chad? Yeah, I question existence. Let's get some mimosas.
So Marilyn Manson, got it.
Oh, shit.
So we got some gear behind you that's pretty cool, and we're gonna.
You should see my studio.
That's not your studio?
No, this is a sort of my studio. This was actually when I was actually, I mean, nobody watching probably knows this, but I spent a month and a half in the hospital earlier this year.
Like 2 weeks ago.
I've been home about 3 weeks, I think. Yeah. And during that time, my friend of mine and my mom came over to my house and took my studio that was down in the basement and brought all the important shit upstairs because I couldn't go up downstairs. I was so weak from the pneumonia that was caused by the COVID-19 and having surgery and having my chest cracked open. I was in a lot of pain all the time, so I couldn't move it up here myself. So yeah, they brought all my synthesizers up here. Downstairs, there's still some stuff. I have like 2 drum sets down there and a bunch of hand drums, and I have a piano harp, like the harp out of a piano that's sitting down there. And
you could just brought that up when you got home.
Drag 300 pounds up the stairs, sure, no problem. My sitars are still down there. I just don't feel.
You gotta get sitars.
Well, I have one in my living room. I keep in there just for looks because it looks nice, but they're a pain in the ass to tune. Like literally, you have to tune them every day. and it takes about a half hour to tune them. So, but I do sit around and go around them while I'm watching TV or whatever.
So, I think we have a video.
My gear. We're talking about my gear.
Yeah, we can keep talking about your gear. We can go back to the hospital stay.
What's up to you? What do you want to talk about? You want to talk
Gosh.
about the hospital? That was fun.
Let's do that real quick.
It was
Let's
very
get that out of the way.
exciting.
Let's start with the video. So Sean had COVID-19. It is a video that we have to play because he had COVID-19. And I apologize to everyone for this, but every time someone says COVID-19, this is what goes through my head. So without any further ado, I give you Kenneth Copeland's rock remix of COVID-19.
Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord. COVID-19, 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 yeah, blow the wind of God. From the state of Washington to the state of Maine to Brownsville, Texas, and the tip of Florida. Today, leads me to the atmosphere. Today, burn this thing. This virus hates me. You just burn this thing. Burn, burn. I call for a supernatural heat wave straight out of hell. Burn, burn. COVID-19, 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 COVID-19. Yeah, blow the wind of God. Get into it, get into it, get into it. You get out of here. Now. Burn, get into it, get into it, get into it. You get out of here. Burn this thing. COVID-19, 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 COVID-19. Yeah, blow the wind of God. You are destroyed forever, and you'll never be back. What's up, YouTube? It's Grant. It's
All right.
now the
So thanks, Grant. Blackpool, that was Kenneth Copeland. He is a preacher of the asshole variety here in America. He's probably the person you would least want to ever have a beer with because he's kind of just like that. And yeah, he gave that speak. According to Trevor Noah, he has the world's worst hype men, which are the other dudes on stage with him who are like COVID-19 after he screams it. And now that COVID-19 is obviously a big news story, and so he did that, and then they made the remix. Every time someone says COVID-19 in my head, I hear Kenneth Copeland shouting at me, COVID-19. So that's why we had to play the video. So,
Nice.
like,
Still better than anything ICP has ever done.
oh, fighting words, but not with me because I pretty much agree. But someone out there that's gonna piss off. Now we wait for the hate mail to come in.
I don't know
It's like,
the popularization of Fago. That was a high
Wow.
point, I think.
yeah, there's that, I suppose.
Yeah, they did save Fago. I wonder if I think Fago's got to be aware that most of their sales are like to ICP fans, right?
Do they still have
Probably.
sales? Is that a thing?
Is ICP still a band? Fago's got sales. They buy it by the case.
I've done tech work for ICP before, and they literally tour with like cases and cases of Fago because they
Like-
throw it around on stage.
Yeah, that's their
Yeah,
show.
It's
Like
prop, yeah.
It's
every
like wrapping
song
cables
is like,
after
here's
that.
the Fago part of the song.
And like when you get up on stage and you're wrapping cables at the end of the night, you just like you want to die because everything's sticky. Like everything is sticky. Like they didn't have the DC to use the diet shit that's not sticky.
Oh.
Yeah.
Every
Make it-
Salvo
Every
says,
office
wrapping sticky
party.
cables.
And that asshole's an ICP fan.
oh god, man, that's a Detroit thing, man. That's because you live in Detroit, Salvo. That does not happen out here in Chicago.
I was going to ask, but I didn't want to stereotype.
You can always stereotype Detroit, and you're usually
Yeah.
right.
I like Detroit though.
I do too, but it's also it lives up to its reputation.
It's got a
Uh,
grit.
I have to drive up to Detroit Modular, which is the only synth shop remotely close to Cleveland. But
Yeah.
Detroit Modular is
Good.
awesome. I love that
Yeah.
place.
Get a shot of Fago.
Supposedly, J.J.
J.J.
Abrams
Fago.
shops there. Like,
Oh, he's
flies
into
in
modular?
to
See
go
that?
there.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, he has a master
Oh, yeah.
system.
Do you remember
Did
that?
you ever see the thing with him and Ricky?
Yeah. In Star
with
Wars.
Ricky Times, and and Times did some stuff for him. Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
Kimiji.
Yeah.
You know
He's
who
in
else
Star
is
Wars.
the Red Hot Chili Peppers? Both Flea and John Frusciante, but especially John Frusciante, who's now back in the band, are both like major modular dorks. Like Flea has like a shitload of modular stuff, and John Frusciante, while he wasn't in Red Hot Chili Peppers, that's like what he did. Is he just bought a shitload of modular gear and played around it every day for like 8
He
years.
used to. He would come into Control Voltage in Portland every so often.
It's cool.
And first time I saw him there, I thought he was a homeless dude.
Sounds about right.
Salvo, just for the record, I am actually jealous and kind of happy that that's not me because I would be really poor.
Oh yeah, with Detroit Modular being 15 minutes away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Shit.
Salvo mentions that Billy Corgan also is a large modular fan. Now we have a bunch
Oh,
of
yeah.
people from Cleveland who are likely Nine Inch Nails fans, and we know how Nine Inch Nails fans feel about Billy Corgan. Does that make you want to quit modular, knowing that Billy Corgan does modular?
No,
Well,
his
Billy Corgan's
modular
kind of
god
a
awful,
tool, but I
bro.
mean, I mean, he from what I understand, he played a show in Chicago that was an
At his
8-hour
coffee shop.
modular set at his coffee shop. You guys could have gone to it. Why
It's a
didn't you?
tea shop. It's a tea shop, not coffee.
Oh, see, okay, so you know the place.
I know it. I know exactly where it is too. It's right by
You were
my
there
old
for
house.
this, were you there for the 6-hour-long?
My parents used to live in
modular set?
that town in Highland Park.
I'm sorry,
And-
I missed that one. Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
funny if you look
Come
at
on,
the
guys.
video,
You
like
didn't-
he has like some kid setting it up for him. He has like it's literally like 7 feet tall by like 7 feet wide, and it's just like it was there was no coherency to it whatsoever. Like he might as well have been using a surge. You know,
A
it
DIY.
was awful. It was terrible. Like you had this kid running around doing stuff, and like it was just I just wanted to drive to Chicago, knock everything over, and tell them to go home.
Billy Corgan modular synth. We need to see if there's video. You're right.
I'm
Watch
sure
Billy
there is.
Corgan play his 8-hour Siddhartha jam. Oh fuck!
All right, send it on over.
There we go.
Here we go. We're getting kicked
Come on,
off
Herman
YouTube
Hesse,
tonight,
make it
guys.
happen.
It's happening. .gif.
I'm gonna go take a pee while you play this.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Let's-
join you, Sean.
That sounds
the
about
bathroom?
right. Get me a pretzel, all right?
Oh, it's okay. Here we go. Here we go. All right.
It's in that link. Let's hear this. Hot
Oh God,
garbage.
it really is 7 hours, 59 minutes, and 52. Hey, I know this place. Or maybe there's just more places that look exactly like that. All right.
No,
fast
it's
forwarding.
just this one place. Billy Corgan owns it and he hangs out in it all day.
Why? What?
Like, I don't know if this sells tea.
I don't understand. Is that just like a wall of Doper?
I think it's Surge, but I could be wrong. Salvo, is that Surge? Looks like Surge to me.
Okay. Keep it coming.
Oh, it's lots of Doper? Alright.
Flight of the Bumblebee.
You know, if you have a ton of Doper, I think you might have like the most boring looking modular rig.
You
Like if it's
do,
just all Doper.
but you've gotten a good value.
Yeah. Yeah. What is this synth in front? Is that like an old Roland? Is it like a
It's got some sliders.
08 or something?
Yeah, and it does have, look at the knobs.
SH1?
It's hunger and pain there among these wretched people. And Siddhartha said quietly, as if he were talking to himself,
Modular with
Dude,
vocals.
"What is
If you keep going, is it gonna get dark? Because Billy Corgan doesn't know how to use a camera and he's overloading his sensors and maybe it'll look better.
Well, now he's into bleeps and bloops.
Oh, he is farty blooping.
Yeah.
Party blooping.
Oh, okay. There we go. I like the gut. It's a good look.
His
I go for
sweater
that.
gets- Hey, dude's in his 50s. He's in tool bag, but we can let him off the hook for the gut.
previous thoughts?
Yeah, come on now.
No, this world of thought was also
And now he's just gonna play on his old keyboard. Like, all right.
he achieved
So where does this go?
with the ability to
In the garbage.
all of this
I think this makes people quit modular. Oh, they're recording it on a
is,
reel-to-reel too, huh? Need to do that.
This reminds me of
into this arrogance.
Oh man, there's a
Martin
guitarist. Can you
Gore's
imagine?
last solo album, which was just like a bunch of modular stuff, and it was the most. It was like this. It was just like self-indulgent bullshit.
Time was not
Who's that solo album was?
Do you think if you're the guitarist, you get that gig, you tell your friends, guys, I'm doing a gig, I'm supporting Billy Corgan. You're
Billy
really
Corgan.
excited,
Could you
and then you get to the gig and it's this shit.
protect your son from Sansara? How could you? I
I
mean,
don't
That guy plays the
understand.
tape recorder.
prayer. Ridiculous aspects were no longer ridiculous to him.
All right, go to the last 3 minutes. Let's get to the money shot.
Lovable.
All right, here it is, the crescendo. Oh, okay, cool. Just a note. Oh, he's trying to figure out why it's stuck.
He has his
He's got a
flashlight out.
flash.
He's doing some tech support there.
It's like maybe if I press buttons on this, it will do something more than.
Apparently, he's got to kill somebody.
Yeah, I think. Well, he owns a wrestling league, doesn't he?
Yeah, he bought TNA. So
He
is-
bought TNA.
Yeah, he's the
Oh, that's
second biggest
hilarious.
wrestling promoter in
Well,
the
some
world.
people have to buy TNA. You know.
Fun fact:
Heyo.
I worked for TNA for a year.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he owns TNA now.
We all work for TNA in our own way. There.
Yeah, he bought TNA. I think it's now the third biggest promotion because Cody Rhodes' promotion is getting pretty big.
What does TNA stand for? Because it's obviously we're having two conversations that are very different.
Total non-stop action wrestling.
Yeah, you gotta drink a shitload
Okay,
of
so it's not
Mountain
tits
Dew
ass.
for it.
Okay.
No.
Yep. No, but
my
also
God.
it is.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I think he bought it from like the redneck
All
slutty
right,
lady.
this has to end. I'm sorry. It's just not.
Hey, you can end this, man.
This is yeah.
Even Billy's
I'll
friend
go back and
left.
watch it on VOD.
Like,
That was
he's
pain.
alone.
That was
Like,
yeah, the
he's
guitar
gone.
player was like, you know what, this is bullshit. And then like the tape player was like, you know what, this is bullshit too.
Yeah.
And he's
8
like,
hours?
But guys, there's a short somewhere. Help me find
Yeah,
it. 8
Solvo.
hours.
I
An
actually like a bunch of his music, and I'm totally okay with saying that. And yes, 1979 was an okay tune. There's a bunch of it that is good. That what we just listened to was not good.
Garbage.
There was
No, I
not-
love it. Not a
So I don't
combination of
know.
sadness.
I don't know Smashing Pumpkins songs, but there's a The World is a Vampire thing. I can't remember what that song is called.
Yeah.
But I only know that lyric is because Sean was drunk at karaoke one night and decided to do that and was screaming it way off key.
Is there video?
And I
of
was
it?
about 4 feet away from it catching
No,
the spit.
thankfully back then
No,
nobody
there
had
isn't, thank
cell
God.
phones.
This is pre video phone. And so that's about it. That's my Smashing Pumpkins moment. So whenever I hear that song beginning, I just hear Sean going, "The world is a vampire." And
That,
it's
now,
all over me.
to be fair, I did get very drunk that night, but I was actually
To be
sober when I
fair.
did that.
Wow. Okay. I don't know if that's fair or not.
Bullet with butterfly wings.
With butterfly wings.
Yeah, what a pretentious fucking name. Fuck you, Billy Corgan.
You're listening to Bullet with Butterfly Wings
By the way,
here on.
If you go to his Twitter, he's a total nutter. He's,
Oh,
he's
he's
a to-
absolutely out of his fucking mind.
like he's the people
I don't
on
doubt this.
on Facebook that you hate right now who are sharing all the worst shit. That's Billy Corgan. He's
Mm,
become that guy.
mm. He was great in Spun. Did you ever see Spun?
I missed that.
Wait, he was in that movie?
Yeah, he was one of the doctors in the hospital. It's a
never
it's a
watched
dark
that.
comedy about meth addicts with Jason Schwartzman
Or as I
and
call it, living in
yeah,
Southeast
Billy
Portland.
Corgan's in there and Debbie Harry and Rob Halford.
I never did Harry. I have to rewatch it.
And the guy
know
who
what?
looks like he's made out of plastic that was in that Iron Man movie. What's his name?
I think I'd be the guy who looks like plastic that was in the Iron Man movie. Mickey Rourke.
Yeah, the second Iron Man
Ooh,
movie. Mickey
yeah.
Rourke. Thank you.
And I got it right.
Yeah. You knew.
It's
You
his
knew
lip.
exactly what I said.
So he has the weirdest Twitter feed. Like, there's no one who his Twitter feed is perfect for. Like, it's all pro wrestling and alternative music from the 90s and conspiracy theories. It like doesn't
Is this
fit with
Mickey Rourke
anything.
or Billy Corgan?
Billy Corgan. I didn't check out Mickey Rourke's Twitter.
Okay.
In fact, I don't know if he has one.
Okay.
You know what? If you dropped
To
the
the internet.
conspiracy theory thing, I think I'd be like kind of cool with it. Like, you know what? He's a really pretentious guy. He's a very pretentious guy, and I think there's a place for that. Like an artist who goes way too deep and loses everybody, but at least he's trying to go that deep. But then, like when he starts, like he's just such a turnoff when he starts talking about his opinions on things. Like it's, wow, you believe things that are awful.
Speaking of
Huh.
opinions, I disagree. I think people like that add flavor, and I'm glad they exist. I don't want to be one of them. I don't want to be friends with them, but I'm glad that they exist in the world to make things a bit more colorful.
I'm in general with you. I think that's true. But he then takes the weird conspiracy theory and he repacks it into Smashing Pumpkins level pretentiousness. So it's not just enough to say that coronavirus is a hoax. He has to say shit like a flower wilting on a moonlit eve, coronavirus dies in the face of truth. And it's like, fuck you, just say what you mean.
Yeah. Fuck you, Billy Corgan. That's a fucking hoax right there.
When in actuality, it looks like this.
Yeah, you're right.
Aww.
To bring the conversation down.
Oh, there it is.
I wasn't looking. What happened?
I pulled out my scar.
Oh, you did the scar?
Oh, that too, but also the current image that's on the
Yeah,
thing.
see, I flipped,
It's,
I think, immediately when the scar was being
Oh.
revealed. I think we need to go back to the scar.
You wanna
Because
see
I
it?
missed it the first time. Hold on.
Yeah.
Give me one moment. Let me just flip this here, do this thing here, do
Reflip
this
your-
little
flip your
flop it
video.
do, and then this guy here, and then boom, we are ready.
Show us
Ready?
the Rona scar. Rona scar.
There you go.
Holy shnikes.
Yeah,
So
that,
You have a smiling division symbol. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
as I understand it,
They drained
that-
like 3 liters of pus and lung fluid out of my lung
Oof.
cavity. Eesh.
Drain
So-
out your lung juice.
I'm not a doctor, but that's bad, right?
Yeah,
Real bad.
no, it is.
Yeah.
In fact,
Like
they had to
near
give me-
die, like we're glad you're here still kind of thing.
Yeah, no, the doctors were like, yeah, we need to operate on you immediately. And, but my fever was so bad, they couldn't, they had to bring my fever down first. So that was fun. I was hallucinating and I had a fever of somewhere around like 106, 107. It was ridiculously
That's
high.
nuts.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
That's
That's
like brain damage high.
brain hemorrhage. Yeah.
And I was only using like maybe like 9% of my right lung. I couldn't breathe and like I couldn't walk or anything, and like it was bad. I was essentially drowning in my own body. Yeah. So what happened was I contracted COVID-19 back in late January, and I just felt like garbage all the time. And I went to the doctor. They didn't have the swab test yet. My doctor was just like, there's nothing we can really do about it. There's no treatment for it. Just go home, treat it like the flu or a cold, and you'll be fine. You're young and healthy. You mountain bike, you hike, you should pull out of this no problem. Well, what happened was it knocked my immune system down so badly it allowed a bacterial pneumonia to set in, and
That's what it
because I couldn't get better, it damn near killed me, and I was in the hospital for 5.5 weeks. So
Do you know where that
Yeah.
bacterial pneumonia came from, Sean?
where is that?
That fucking
Dome.
club in
That
Kent.
place is fucking terrible. Oh my god, that place tried killing me.
That
Fuck
place we played
Don't
at
ever
sucks so
go
much.
to the
Oh
dome
my
in
God.
Kent, Ohio. That
So-
little board
Hopefully it's
thing they
closed
had
down.
so that fell over. Oh my god.
That
Oh,
you ripped
no.
out and threw at the dude?
I followed your story. So you streamed with Ix, and I watched the stream. It was great. And I think you joined our Discord, and I connected up with you on Facebook, became
Mhm.
friends with you, and you were healthy and you were a mountain biking guy, did get gigs and stuff, and you were talking about synths and healthy, and it was just a normal person, and then suddenly you started feeling bad, you didn't shake it, and then we all started at that moment hearing about COVID-19. It was late January. You started reading on news stories like real low on the page. You'd see, oh, there's a weird thing going around in Asia, and we don't know exactly what it is. And right at that moment when it was like starting to like come, oh, well, we've confirmed it in the United States and we don't know where some of these people have it. Later we found out that it was more widespread, and I watched as the news hit and it aligned with your experience, and you shared it all. You shared every single iota of it. And that's not everybody would do that. A lot of people want to be more private, but you did it, and it was like a service because it was the story for me that drove home how I felt about COVID-19, because it is something that is hard to believe because it's so crazy. But then soon you have to believe it because the stakes are so high. But seeing someone go through it adds this other dimension that I think makes it like unimpeachable, unquestionable as to what's going on. And see you go from like this healthy mountain biking guy to someone who has the fucking generational plague and is like basically taken out and like knocked down and near death's door. Your story was striking because of how relentless it was and how it didn't let up, and then eventually the surgery, and then the nursing home. Fuck, and the boredom. I mean, you told the story in this way that was visceral and really connected, and I couldn't like, my jaw was on the floor with every single post. You were in the nursing home for how long? Were you, after the surgery?
Almost 3 weeks.
That's nuts. And nursing homes are, at that exact moment, it started hitting the news as well because they became hotbeds for COVID-19.
Well, one of the terms for me going to the extended care facility, the nursing home, was that they asked me where I wanted to go, and they gave me a list of places. And I said, I don't know what any of these places are. It's not like I study nursing homes for fun. I just said, I want to go somewhere where there's no COVID-19 at all, because I don't know if I can catch it again. And they were like, okay, we got these three. There are only three in the city, in the whole damn state, that don't have anything. And I had to be put in isolation for 2 weeks. The first week was fucking terrible. Like, I was losing my mind because, like, I was in a room with the doors shut, and I couldn't see anybody I knew or loved or any of my friends. I would see, only human beings I would see is when they drop food off for me, or they come in to give me my infusion, because I was on an antibiotic every 8 hours. And the first week was awful because I couldn't have the door open or anything. But the second week, they were like, well, your test for COVID-19 came back negative, so it means you don't have it anymore. So we could open your door. And just like having that door open for me was just like, it felt like I was out on the Great Plains, because it's just suddenly my whole world had opened up, and like there were people walking by, and the nurses walk by and they said hi or whatever, or they'd stop in and to check on me and whatnot. And it made a huge world of difference. Suddenly I didn't feel so alone. I kept, what kept me sane and kept me focused was to knowing that this wasn't permanent, that I would be going home in a few weeks, and that the worst
that you'd gotten past the worst part. Yeah.
Right. When I went to the surgery, like, I remember just laying there staring at the ceiling of the operating room before they put me under, just thinking, well, I guess if this is it, this is it. I had a good life. I have a very fortunate life. I've done a lot of things that I've set out to do, and I'm very, very lucky to have lived the life I lived, and I was okay with it. And I woke up 36 hours later with a hose and a tube going out every part of my body that you can imagine. And they even made a few holes. And I had 2 lung tubes coming out right here. I had a catheter, and I had like 4 intravenous IVs hooked up to me, and a tube down my throat. I was on a respirator. And that was probably the most uncomfortable thing I ever felt in my life, because I woke up and I couldn't see because my eyes had crusted shut. And I started banging on the side of the beds. I didn't know anybody was around. I couldn't breathe, and I started spelling in sign language, "I can't breathe." And the one nurse said to the other one, she goes, "Is that sign language?" And the one nurse goes, "Yeah." And she's like, okay, no, you have a tube down your throat. And I was like, "Get it out." I'm like, I don't want this thing in my throat. And so they had to pull it out. And I sat up and I said, I can't see anything. Why am I blind? What the hell's going on? And she's like, no, sweetie, your eyes are crusted shut. Let me get you a wet rag. And I wipe my face off and I open my eyes. Like, oh. I'm like, I really got to pee. And she's like, well, you already are. I'm like, what do you mean I already am? She's like, well, we had to put a catheter in. I'm like, for 2-hour surgery? Because it was only supposed to be the 2 tubes going in, but the infection was so bad they actually had to go in and split my ribs and move my scapula up forward over here to get into there. Just to I mean, you saw how big the scar is. You know, they split me basically, wide open, and I thought it was the same day. And she's like, no, you've been we've kept you under for a day and a half, and the doctor's going to come in right now and explain to you what happened.
I'm sorry.
And basically, what they told me was I was on the table, and the infection was so bad, the stuff they were pulling out, and there was so much of it that they had to cut me open so it didn't spread to the rest of my body and physically suck it out. And when that happened, I actually crashed on the table, and they had to revive me. And, yeah, so I was more than happy to wake up. Yeah, it was weird. It's when I got home, like everything had changed. Everything was different. Like my mom had rearranged the living room for me, so I'd have an easier way to get in and out of the living room to sit down and stuff. And my studio was now in this spare bedroom, and even the shower curtain was different. And it was kind of mentally weird because I kept thinking, okay, did I die? And is this a simulation? Did something changed? And I started going through this really bad depressive state after I got home, which seems counterintuitive to what you would go through. You think you'd be happy to be home, and I was. Don't get me wrong. It just, I felt like this real, like weird, like depression, like that kind of. It was weird. I guess it's pretty common when you have a near-death experience that you go through sort of thing. You kind of start questioning stuff and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, I'm doing better now, but I'm definitely healing. My doctors are really surprised how fast I'm healing. I mean, I was home, I think 4 days from the nursing home, and I went out and did a 20-mile bike ride. My doctor, I talked to him on the phone. I said, hey, is it okay if I go ride my mountain bike? He's like, well, I did an x-ray the day before that. He looked at it and said, you look like you're healing up really well, really quickly. My biggest problem was diarrhea, to be honest. I mean, antibiotics.
Get a lot of antibiotics in your system.
Oh my God, it was awful. Yeah. I lived off beef broth or bone broth and yogurt for like 2 weeks, and just to kind of, and kimchi just to kind of rebuild my gut back together. It's probably better, but yeah, I think I was the worst of it coming home to that because it's and yeah, I'm feeling a lot better though. I'm anxious to get out and enjoy summer.
So for the Raiders, everyone who showed up with Maz, so this is Sean Holt. He's an artist. He lives in Cleveland. And he's recounting recently he was hospitalized for COVID-19. And the part that I really want to kind of restate, because it's the part that's really powerful for me, is some of the things that we've all seen on the news regarding COVID-19 that have seemed somewhat anonymized. You see nurses wearing lots of protective gear. You see people trying to avoid getting it, healthcare workers trying to avoid getting it themselves. And there's all this. Sean is a living example of what all that actually is. This is a person who went through all that just recently. 3 weeks now home, and has gone through every single stage and every single thing in the most impactful way, including a dangerous pneumonia that nearly killed him, required surgery, a lengthy recovery, the post-traumatic aspects of having a disease that takes you to the brink like this. He's healthy as well. This is the other piece, is everybody who's watching this can probably project onto him as if we all probably feel like, I think I could probably survive it. And like the notion is that you're not supposed to catch it that way. You don't spread it because other people who might not be as healthy as you might not survive it. But that's not even necessarily true. The urgency is super high. This is a man who mountain bikes 20 miles in a shot 4 days after returning home from the nursing home. So that's 3 weeks and 4 days after surgery. This is someone who had health and still got taken to the brink. And if you weren't a healthy person, your chances would have been even lower. Everything that you've heard is is in place there, and it's important, I think, for people to connect to that, because otherwise you just see it in the news and it becomes something you doubt, and maybe then we act in ways that are a bit reckless, and that's not, I think, wise. I think it's important to get that connection to somebody.
My doctor told me that if I had been a smoker, which I've never smoked, I smoke a cigar once in a while, I smoke a pipe once in a while, but you don't inhale those sort of things. I probably would have lost part of my lung, because what happens is that the fluid outside the lung sac pushes the lung together, and it causes it to compress in the fluid around it, which is why my lung was only working at 10%. He was telling me that if I was a smoker, that all that tar and nicotine in there would act like a glue and basically glue that together. And when they put the respirator down my throat to re-inflate my lungs, that it probably wouldn't come apart, and they would actually just cut that out and throw it away.
Well, that's fun.
So, yeah, and thankfully my lungs are actually bigger than an average person from all the damn mountain biking I do. In fact, I got this thing when I was in the hospital.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
can see the
Those are fun.
numbers here. It's not a bong. The goal was to get to 1,000 milliliters. I was barely able to get to 250. A couple days later, and now when I use it, I max it out at well beyond 220, 2,500.
Is this a lung pushing mechanism? Like you breathe into it and try to push it higher?
It's a party bong.
It opens your lungs up. Yeah, and it's expand your lungs, and this thing was what kept me going, was doing this every day, getting through the pain of having my chest operated on, and because right through here and all through here is where most of this is cartilage. Well, when they pull your ribs apart, that's where the pressure points are, and it's in the back and the front, and taking deep breaths hurt like hell, but it was a lot of wanting to get out, wanting to be healthy again. I used a lot of meditation to imagine my body healing itself. I focused on where the pain was and try to understand what that pain is, and then imagined my body repairing itself. I don't know if it helped or not, but it seemed like it did. It's a good placebo, maybe, I don't know, but it seemed like it was something that helped me heal. And yeah, it was, I knew the road to recovery was going to be long, but I was doing everything in my power to make sure that it was going to be not as long. So I'm still in pain. I still take Tylenol every day and whatnot. But the good news is I didn't become an opiate addict, because the first day after surgery, they had me on all kinds of fentanyl. And boy, was that fun.
It's like, hey, we'll take this risk because today it's so much more urgent, right?
Right, exactly.
And I think that's the way it goes with a lot of these things. Like you mentioned that you came home and that was when depression hit. I think there's stuff we don't know yet about this and the experience of it. We're so focused in on the immediate medical impact, how to prevent, how to treat, therapies, and we still haven't yet even had a chance to free up resources to say, okay, well, what happens to someone when they survive it and what they go through psychologically? Well, right now, how are we even gonna, like, that's like a priority months down the line studying that. Like we need to do it. We probably need to have some people asking questions and serving right up, but how do we even figure out to do that when right now the urgency is so immediate and so high for the front line? But I have heard about that too. I've heard that it has a psychological effect, and it's not just necessarily the trauma of it, that because there's other things that maybe going on almost chemically from it.
Well, and not only that, but there's also been a bunch of cases of just straight up delirium, like actual real delirium, where people kind of lose touch with reality, like what's going on, and that can be really messed up too, especially when you snap back to and you're like, wait, what just happened? And then
when I
dealing with everything
first
else.
went to the hospital, I think it was more fever related, and because of the infection and lack of sleep, for a few days I had to sleep sitting up holding pillows like this because I couldn't lay down because it felt like I couldn't breathe. I remember laying in my hospital bed, staring out the window. I could see the Cuyahoga County Library, and I was just staring at the building, and I blinked, and the whole building changed. And I thought, well, that's interesting.
Your
And
brain
then
was
we gotta
not working
change it,
right.
yeah. And then I sat up in my bed, I looked around the room, and I noticed the tiles on the floor were like swirling. And I was like, this is not good. And so I called my nurse and I'm like, I have a problem. She's like, well, I'm like, I think I'm hallucinating. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, nothing seems right. Like, I'm like, I'm not comprehending any of this. Like, the buildings are changing, the walls are changing. What's going on? And she was like, well, you probably have a fever and it's probably from the infection. And she's like, when was the last time you slept? I'm like, oh, it's been like 3 days since I had any sleep really. And so, yeah, I think I lost like 35 pounds my first week in the hospital because I couldn't eat. Like I just did not eat at all. They'd bring me food, it would sit there. And obviously I gained it back, but yeah, it was really bizarre. I don't know that was probably because of the infection, but yeah, it's alter reality without, wanting it to be altered. Not fun.
Yeah, you don't get to make a choice. It's a lot worse. It's one thing if you
Yeah.
make a choice to alter your reality, you kind of at least know somewhere in your brain that it's coming.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, I'm sure I'm glad that you're on the other side of this and that you're returning to normalcy and that this is now an experience that is something that you've been able to. Not that it's good that you went through it, but it will inform the rest of your life, I'm sure. It'll become part of you. It'll become part of the decisions you make and the things that you believe and how you approach life. And you can't ever curse what has happened. You always need to embrace who you've become because of it. And I think
Absolutely.
that it sounds like you're very much there. So thank you for telling us your story. That's powerful stuff. I thought
You wanna
about,
talk
by the
about
way.
beer?
Yeah, so anyway, the Argon 8 has firmware. I guess, yeah, let's see. I don't even know how to pivot off that. What could we possibly
right?
pivot to from that? Let's see, Noel Gallagher? Go to that? Or should we go to
Is that
Gear?
still a thing? No
Uh,
Gallagher.
There's a story.
We're on the topic of Edward Furlong.
Oh, we could do that.
John Connor.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
no, I was just kind of looking through some stuff and found out that like at some point in the what was that? Oh no, that was 2009, July 2009, when he still looked like half Edward Furlong and half whatever he is now. He had a delightful wife. No more. Cheers.
His original wife, so he got fucked up because when he was a child star, his like makeup artist or something, who was like 10 years older than him when he was like 14, started like getting with him. And like that's if you're 14, it's like high five, I'm banging my makeup artist, but then it's also kind of like I'm being raped, and that's gonna fuck up the rest of my life. And that's totally what happened. He ended up like marrying her, and it really fucked him. He became a major drug addict. Anyway, so this picture came around, and me and my friend Wads, we basically figured out the next Terminator movie and what needs to happen. So essentially, you got to recast Edward Furlong as John Connor, but cast John Connor is Edward Furlong as he is now, like fat and really unhealthy, but he's also the only one who knows how to like fight the Terminator. Right? Yeah, so that guy is John Connor. So all like the rebels are like, man, this sweaty fat fuck, but he's the only one who can help us. Right? And he's got like a raging cocaine addiction, so they're like, God, we're being invaded by T-800s. I hope he doesn't have a fucking heart attack, that fat fuck, right? Like everyone's pissed about that. And he definitely reprograms a T-800 to go out and procure like toot and booze and shit for him. And he's a total scumbag, but he's also the leader of resistance. Because there's nothing about being the leader of the resistance. The only requirement is knows how to help humanity survive. Being like a good person isn't part of that, right? So I think that's like the bargain everyone made. Like, well, we can go extinct as a species, or we can get behind this dipshit, right? And make that part of the movie, right? Like, so fine, we're buying this dipshit. Oh, look, Arnold Schwarzenegger's out looking for tits for him. Tits. John Connor needs tits, or he's gonna let humanity go extinct.
Well, I mean,
run like
the T-800's a classic, so we can at least respect that.
Yeah, run like the whole story that way. Like the whole movie is like this. Like we're being attacked. Get John Connor an 8-ball so he can devise a strategy. Like. He wakes up and he's like, Argh. I think that would be the best Terminator movie since Terminator 2. I think it would. I honestly would watch it, and I would think it's just.
It might be
passing.
better than Terminator 2.
It might be better than Terminator 2. Yeah, it's that
Definitely
sound.
better than any of the Terminators since.
Then it's
Absolutely
fighting
better than the
words.
rest. Of it.
Yeah. I mean,
It-
I
this
kind
is
of like
this
going
is
with Christian Bale. I wish
James
they would've
Cameron
kinda
would come back and
kept
direct this shit.
James Cameron
Is he still
comes back
alive?
and James Cameron, yeah, he's at the bottom of the ocean or something.
I was gonna
He's-
say he could do it like where they're in some kind of an underwater base. That way you can kind of draw in James
Yeah,
Cameron.
I mean, he's making 12 more of those movies that he made.
Yeah, and then the
one of.
T-800 goes out swimming to the land to go find all
And
of
the
John Connor's
cocaine
shenanigans.
There you go.
Was the cocaine for John
Has
Connor?
the-
In
the giant
order
Smurf
to help
people
the
come and
resistance,
help
need
out.
to procure an ounce of cocaine. It would be like that.
I am the
Yeah.
prolinator. Let's
You got any
party.
girls? John Connor always says, "Snatch and toot," and I saved the human species.
Speaking of tooting, Fart Light by Native Instruments. Have y'all
Yes.
seen this?
Yes.
Yeah, let's discover it really quick. So it looks shockingly like Stray Light, and Stray Light was effectively a granular sample player with 2 parts for
Fart
$200. Come on, NI.
No one was around to say no. No one at Native Instruments was like, "This is gonna get made fun of." What should we name this? Go with Farlight. How should we spell it? Like fart, but leave out the T. Make it like fart, but I'm a fish fan.
Yeah, and to be fair, like as a sample player, like it has a lot of good tools in it. It's very cool. One of them would have done just fine. Maybe make it a platform, charge like $50 for the platform, and then maybe $10 for sample packs or something. But to wrap it as an instrument and call it $200, come on, dude.
Well, to be fair,
$200
I bought
is
This is
Cloud.
what happens when you. This is what happens when you furlough your marketing team due
Heyo.
to COVID-19. Like
Edward
this is literally
Furlow.
what happens. You have fart light. Edward Furlow. Turn on your fart light.
Your Farlight.
Yeah, this other one, Stray Light, it's basically
Let it
like,
shine wherever you go.
you know, the
Speaking of Neil
atmosphere.
Diamond, I actually took my grandma to see Neil Diamond like years ago. Anyhow, sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so did I. I took your grandma to see Neil Diamond.
I bet you did.
I didn't. That's a weird joke. Oh, that was way too.
I feel weird.
This
So,
is.
Ko, you were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that.
Sorry about that.
You know, you're good. You know the when you watch Blade Runner or what is the other Altered Carbon or anything like that, it has a feel, it has a flavor, right? And that's what Stray Light is. Stray Light is just like, hey, we took Blade Runner and turned it into a sample player VST thing. All you do is load up a patch, turn a knob, and hold down D, and it and you have an intro to some awesome sci-fi film. That's what it is. So I think this is the
So
same
it was
thing, but
basically
with
like
voices.
Blade Runner. So you had like Blade Runner had a certain look, and then basically what they did was it's every other '80s cyberpunk movie
Yes.
after Blade Runner.
Yeah, if
is
you're
what Fartlight
if
is.
you're in charge
Okay.
of scoring those, B films as they come out, and it's good money for you, invest in this.
Mhm.
This is $200 well spent because you
if
can
it says
just
Dimension Pictures beforehand,
you just say like, well, what key should it be in? And they're like, I don't know, well, F, and you're like, great, F. And they're like, God damn.
You don't even need to. Oh no!
that
I
was-
just
that
try
was-
12 different.
That was
notes and see if you figure it
Zimmer-esque,
out.
and you're like, I know. I spent
Just get one
all
of
of
these.
5
I need
minutes
more
on
space
it.
So much
truck
more
horns.
fun.
Yeah,
It's a Lyra 8.
I'm gonna fire up an audio demo. I mean, listen to that.
I bet it's cool.
This
What
is
is
holding.
that, John?
This is holding down one note. I'm sure.
What is it, Sean? You got cool things.
Oh, it's Lyra 8.
It's a Lyra 8.
from my laboratory.
Oh, cool.
Ooh,
I'm
nice.
running the MS-20, full-size MS-20. I don't fuck around with mini keys. You can do it.
Did you put in a pre-order for the Pulsar 23?
No, I didn't. I was going to buy a Korg reissue of the 2600, but then I found myself laying in a hospital bed dying and thought maybe perhaps I should pay my medical bills instead.
Yeah, that sucks.
So I canceled it. I'm building this thing instead. It's way cheaper.
Yeah. I do want to
You
get
can buy a
that
lot of stuff
Pulsar.
used for so cheap. So
David Miner says, Sean, thanks for sharing your story, by the way. Glad you're here, my man.
thank
Or
you.
you're, yeah, here. There is more gear news. There's stupid gear news. Let's do it.
So much gear news.
Behringer news. Behringer has significant gear news, and we have to fucking cover it because this is a show about music gear. So it's time to
I have
cover
a
the
rule.
Behringer gear.
I have a rule about Behringer. You can't complain
Let's
about
hear-
Behringer if you shop at Harbor Freight.
I don't shop at Harbor Freight.
That's
I do
awesome.
because it's almost funny to go there.
Yeah. It's like I need a thing. You buy the thing.
I didn't
It's
think I'm
probably
gonna lose anyways.
yeah, it's gonna break or whatever, but it was like 40 cents.
When I used to do stagehand work,
I buy cases for them.
So Harbor Freight has a bad reputation. I didn't
All my
know that.
Electron cases came from Harbor Freight because you can throw them across the room and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like $20.
The Harbor Freight stuff is some of it's no moving parts. That's the rule. If it has moving parts, it probably will break.
Don't
Right,
buy
they
your
just
jacks
got-
there. Did you see
No,
that they
your
just
jack
recalled
stands-
their auto jacks,
Yes.
their jack stands?
Like it'll break your car. Like
No,
it'll just
it's
give in.
gonna-
No.
Break
Yeah,
you.
they have a tendency. No, they have a
jack will
tendency to
break and the car
collapse.
will- Yeah.
Behringer put out in the form factor of the Poly D. This seems to be their. If I didn't hate them, I would say that there's something clever to their business model. The Mono Poly is here from Behringer. This is the first time where they didn't even rename it, like the Model D.
Yeah.
You know, like
No, the cat.
they just literally just
The cat
named
and
the
the lot.
cat. Oh, the cat. That's right, the cat. Well, that's the
And the
Octave
lot.
cat. Or is Octave the name of the brand?
Interesting design.
It's
Huh.
literally the fucking 37
Again.
key Poly D chassis. That's kind of what they do. Is they did that other form factor and they just reused it like 10 times. And now they're doing this and reusing it like 10 times. I listened to it. It sounds all right.
Again, this is marketing department on furlough. What are we gonna call this thing? Just call it the Monopoly. Fuck it.
Yeah, just fuck it. Not even the Bono Bali. Although
Just-
that has become a joke on Synth
Just when
memes.
you guys say it on any of the teaser stuff, just say Monopoly, and then that way we don't get dinged.
Yeah.
yes.
There you go.
There you
Until well, Parker Brothers versus Korg, which is the bigger company that's going to sue us?
Well,
They're
but
both
that's the
actually
thing is,
kind of nasty.
you're not going to confuse a board game with this unless it's there's a joke in
Says
there
you.
somewhere, but it's not
How
going to
much?
happen.
Anybody know what the price on that is yet? I'm curious because
It-
you can pick up a Monopoly
$6.99.
for like
$6.99?
I'd rather just spend the $1,200 on a Monopoly.
Yeah, the $6.99 is a little steep for.
I mean,
So,
prepare, George. Shit.
Here's what we have going on with Behringer. And so this is stuff that people don't really want to talk about. It doesn't, to my ears, even sound like a Monopoly. I know it's close, but like you can get a synth with the same exact feature set to sound close.
99.
Behringer does like this thing where they create like a platform. So here's the chassis, and they build synths into it, and they just kind of build some of the features and they rearrange them and kind of bully them into shape so they sound pretty close. And that's fine if they were being like ethical about it or if it was a true, but this is a straight up ripoff. People who would buy this, I'm not going to condemn anybody who spends their money on it because you're a musician, you might be on a budget, you might be looking for this sound. I would honestly recommend if you're on a budget and it's that hard, going with software instead. If you really want to get a Monopoly sound, you could spend $20 on a VST. There's plenty of good ones out there. There's the Korg Legacy Collection, and you can get a controller, or you can get other synths that do something similar. The Monopoly was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even poly, it's paraphonic synth. It's akin to the Matriarch. It's akin to the new Poly D that's out. You can play each one of its oscillators separately, but they all share the same envelope and amplification stage. Sorry about that. What's up?
It's all right. I was just going to say the Korg VST sounds fantastic. It is a real piece of
It
crap.
does. It really does.
Yeah.
My buddy Gary, he uses the MS-20 app on his iPad, and we put it up against my. This is actually an MS-20 reissue. It's a kit, and we had beat them together, and honestly, we build the same exact patch, and look at it through an oscilloscope and look at the waveforms and everything, and like we could not tell the difference between the two. So some of the VSTs out there are really good, especially the ones that Korg themselves are putting out.
To me,
I saw this and I was kind of bummed out because my first synthesizer was a Poly 6, which is very similar. And I thought, son of a bitch, why did I have to go do that? Anyhow.
To me, this wouldn't sell anything at $700 if it wasn't branded as monopoly. It's interesting because the reason, the power of what they're basically ripping off is the thing that makes it interesting. It's people who want the nostalgia, people who want the feel of the monopoly, the snappy envelopes. That doing a monopoly bass gets you that sound from the 80s of that rolling, punchy pop bass line, and it's really awesome. But the thing about it is if it was branded differently and it had several other innovations, at $700, you might actually think this is kind of expensive. This is not a synth that has anything modern or complex that drives price. Instead, $700 is the perception of value that Behringer gets is only against the used market for vintage synthesizers that are on a collector's. That's why it looks good. If you take this and you compare it to Korg's current offering, which is the Minilog XD, it's same price range, and the Minilog XD has shitloads more features. It also sounds awesome. It's analog. The difference is that this is a much more simple synth, but it has the branding for monopoly, so it drives that nostalgia. It will drive sales because of that. And there's a perception that it's great value, but it's, if you just stack up the features, what's under the hood doesn't even add up to $700. That's my take on it. I dislike Uli for so many reasons. There was some talk about the one most original synth they have in chat. I think AM brought up the Neutron.
I was just trying to bring that up. That's a fantastic synthesizer. Why can't they just go run with that? And why do they gotta keep rehashing old shit?
And then we could talk about it in fair terms. We could say you did the Neutron, that was inexpensive, it was creative, it was unique, it had its own feel, its own flavor, and then you can actually bring taste to it. I liked it or I didn't like it. But instead, we get trolled in having to talk about, well, does it sound exactly like a monopoly or not? And it's like, well, does it need to? Should it need to? It seems to me like they're just like living off of someone else's glory in order to drive sales, and that's absolutely what they do. But you know, what are you gonna do? There are some people gonna buy them. I do think that there is a segment of the population that's really into this, but I don't think. Here's the interesting thing, guys. Since Model D came out, you saw those in tons of streams. You saw videos getting posted on YouTube, people would do jams. Everyone had a Model D, it felt like, when Behringer came out with it. And Neutron, that came out, you saw tons of people with those. Has anybody seen people actually using in large numbers? Maybe I've seen a few of the MS-20 remake, the K20. Any other of the newer Behringer synths since then make their way into people's rigs and people are actually using them? Who's buying these things? Are they actually driving that many sales? I'm not seeing it.
I wonder if it's like people who are like, I'm into guitars. I kind of want to get into synths, but I don't want to spend a lot of money. Because look, it is I mean, these Pittsburgh 360s are like $900 and you just bought a box with some electronics in it, you know, and it just sits there until you put modules in it. I get it that, you know, everybody has to start somewhere. I bought my first synth because it was $50. I have to wonder if like maybe like it's like high school kids or, you know, elementary or junior high kids who are like, Mom, Dad, I want a synthesizer. And they're like, here, this is $200. This is easy for me to afford. Or if it's, you know, somebody's like, I'm a guitar player. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this. I don't want to sink all this money.
Sure, they also don't know all the cultural baggage of what they're buying. They don't realize it because they're just sitting around the Guitar Center going, oh, that looks neat. I'll try it.
I mean, because I'm not a super great guitar player, bass player. Both my guitars are Squires because I'm not going to spend $1,200 on a guitar. But, you know, yeah, I have no problem dropping that kind of money on synthesizers because that's where my passion lies. So this is just me dipping and playing around by myself. This is what I do, you know what I mean? So I imagine it's like the opposite side of that.
So perhaps a more casual type of player is who's really getting involved in it.
Like, so I have a very
That's how I feel. I mean,
it's just a simple delay. That's all I needed. It was $25. I'm not going to go out and buy a memory man for $300. So, but anyhow, sorry, Andrew, to interrupt you.
Yeah, no worries.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, it's interesting that there's like because you see like I mean there's some things like their 808 clone that they did that people were really excited about.
Why it's
And then
another
it came
808.
out, and then people, well, it looked like it sounded like it did a lot of those things, and it came out, and then it kind of faded away pretty quickly. It's not one of those.
It wasn't this big. So.
Well, and like
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, Roland messes
I have
themselves
big
by
hands.
giving you synthesizers you need chopsticks to use. But I think that
Roland is so
and I
Rolandy.
think that yeah, don't get me started. But I the thing is that those things are, it's kind of like to me it feels like this stuff's already been done, right? And if you're going to clone it, you're going to clone it whatever, but at the same time people aren't going to lose their shit over something that's already been done.
Behringer's modular line is out, and someone totaled up how much it would cost to build up a full System 500 in Behringer's modular line. I think it's like $1,700. So let me tell you what's underneath each one of those modules. What they did was they took what they engineered into the Model D, and basically they put it on a unique face. They just tore it apart. They just separated the pieces. Here's the filter. We took that circuit off. We took this off. They just like put it into Eurorack format and released it. They're the kings of reusing and reform factoring, but that's not even that cheap. That means in rebuilding that entire thing.
But that's not, I mean,
1750. That's crazy.
I agree. I mean, that's what Moog did with the grandmother.
Here's
I
the
mean,
thing
literally,
about,
they pieced parts off of
in reverse though.
ones.
Yeah,
but it's
about their
Moog.
Moog, about their Moog modules. I kind of feel like Moog did this to themselves because, I mean, I grant Moog seems like they're trying to move forward in a lot of ways while still keeping one foot in the past with like their reissue of their big Moog format stuff. But that shit's so expensive. I mean, it's $30,000 or $10,000 per case. And I think, if they had done what Behringer are doing and said, hey, let's manufacture these let's reissue all our old stuff, but in Eurorack format, I would have bought all of it, man. I would have been I mean, if it was the right price. Obviously, I'm not going to spend, it's the reason why I don't own any Buchla, because I can't spend $1,400 on one single module. But
no, $1,400 got to get you a couple. It's got to get you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I think Moog should have done that. I get why Behringer's doing it. I kind of want to hear what they actually sound like instead of just their demos online are just awful.
Well, there's a few things to it. They're 5-volt. They're Eurorack. They're not even really Moog.
That's true. I mean, the .com stuff is more Moog than that is.
The .com stuff is way more Moog. It carries on the tradition ably. It's you're actually getting that hotter signal. That's
and this stuff. It sounds. I mean, I'm fairly new to it. I've built this system within the past, basically since I got home from the hospital, which, as you can see, the box is half full now.
You moved pretty fast.
That didn't take long.
I
take you into the monthly payment program.
Nope. I asked them. My friend Johnson made this box for me, and I asked them, I'm like, can I get the monthly payment plan without the box? And they're like, no, you can get the box and sell it though. I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. So I bought a lot of it used, and this stuff is like way cheaper used. Like I think the most expensive thing I have in here is like the oscillator. I paid $150 for it. I do have an analog master clock though.
You get the clock.
Yeah, the clock, the Q191 master analog clock. I had to have that because it takes time, and but it's not all .com. There's some other manufacturers in there too, but I had some few people who were like, oh, why are you getting into 5U? You have Eurorack on it, just build boring stuff in there. I said, well, it's different. It sounds different. It feels different. The interface is completely different. When I bought my MS-20 kit here, I just fell in love with the big knobs and the big jacks and the sticking ins and outs of the big cables. That's kind of sounding. So I've been wanting to do this for a few years.
I'm getting kind of warm over here.
And I'm really happy I'm doing it. It's different. The interesting thing I'm discovering about it is they don't do a lot of effects modules. So it's given me a reason to get back into guitar pedal collecting. and so I've been doing that too.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah, I've sold like 20 Eurorack modules. That's why that case is like half empty, just to fund this. And I actually ended up buying another bass because I was buying guitar pedals too. So yeah, I've been seeing a lot of the postmen and the FedEx man and the UPS guys lately. So
I have.
it's been fun.
I'm not gonna tell everybody exactly what it is, but I have a custom guitar pedal coming.
Ooh,
It's being
from who?
hand built with exact features that I requested, and I've been working with the designer on it. And
Is
so
it
that is
Earthquaker?
coming. Huh?
Fun.
Is it Earthquaker?
No, it's not Earthquaker. That'd be dope.
Okay.
This is to me cooler.
I got a
And
good friend that works there, so yeah.
I can't tell you guys who it is yet. I'll reveal it once it comes in. I'm gonna do a bunch on it, but once it comes in, like if anybody wants in on this, I'm sure that he'll do stuff for all of you as well. But that
What
said,
kind of pedal is it? Can you
Nice.
say that at least?
no, I can't release
Oh,
what that is. It's gonna be interesting. But yeah, I have a fully
Secret
custom,
squirrel.
totally unique. He and I talked about the parameters, what I was doing with it, like what my concept was, and what synth I wanted to put it on, so he could calibrate to it, and some of the different features and the knob set and the orientation. And so I have it's gonna be the only one made. It's gonna be. I'm totally geeked over this because everything else I have up there is mass production. Even the handcrafted stuff, the matriarch, there's thousands of those, right? And I know it, and that's fine. And the cool thing about analog is you buy something that's analog, and even though there's thousands of them, each one sounds a little bit different. It's got your, the temperature
Sure.
of the area you live in, the way you play it. This has me one. This one, every single circuit in it is completely unique and custom. So I am super excited about that. Anyway,
this 5U case was
Nice.
specially made for me, and that's like it is like the coolest feeling when someone makes you something. You
Yeah.
feel like a rock star. You're like, yeah, that's awesome. I had a custom case made for me. This is yeah, it's like having. I can imagine it's like having a custom pedal made. That has to be cool.
built to order. It's because we're approaching with this gear, and I think everyone probably feels the same way. If you don't, I'm making an assumption here, but I bet most people do. I think it's also something that doesn't happen with software, but the gear itself is close to being a piece of art often on its own. A wonderful synthesizer, when you look at it, it has its utility, form over function, right? Always. But then the form often is beautiful. There's styles, wooden end cheeks or industrial design. There's ways of making it look a way that you want to play, enticing you. When something is badly designed, it gets a poor reputation. Ko, how often have you played that fucking Jupiter Boutique?
I played it quite a bit, but I hate it.
Okay, but you hate it. Okay, so you played it, but you hate it. But if it were designed in a way ergonomically that like begged to be played, it would be wonderful, right?
Yeah, it sounds great. It's a pain in the ass to use.
Get rid of the concept of just straight up cutting cost and allowing instead like the craftsmanship and the artistry of musical instrument design. This goes back to like Stradivarius designing a violin and putting the S on there, and the S is now on every single violin you see someone play. The design choices made early on by Moog became sort of this design language for synthesizers that we all know. And in some ways that's part of what is happening in Eurorack is they're jumping on kind of like the Buchla, the West Coast thing, so quote unquote, to try to be an icon class against it. It's a response to that, but it still exists in the same context of that. Because one existed and looked this way, we must now try to do this so we can find our own identity. What I'm saying is this stuff is art, and just like any other art, it goes through different phases. Within art, you have pointillism, cubism, realism. You have surrealism. All these different people who influence and train each other. And instrument designers are exactly the same, except they also have like a much heavier engineering aspect to it. And that's an absolutely wonderful thing about this passion that we all share. And except for David Miner, who's not a synth guy, but I'm totally geeked about getting this. When you see it, you will all, by the way, you will all understand exactly what it is. That's the fun thing is the moment you see it, you'll be like, I get that immediately. Everything that Dan said that I didn't understand, the moment you get a visual of it, you will fully understand. That's the coolest part about this. So that's coming. I don't know if it'll be here next week. It might be here the week after. I'm not going to rush it because I don't want him to like be stressed and finish this thing up. I want him to like, get it done and do it right because he's putting his heart and soul into it. So anyway, with that, it's 11:56. We got time for one more story, one more thing. We got a lot of gear that's going to push.
We still haven't
next
hit all the
week.
stories we wanted to talk about too.
Yeah, let me do a quick shot really quick. Valhalla released Supermassive for free. Go grab it. It is a reverb. It is a delay.
Yes.
It is a weird warping thing. Valhalla makes awesome shit. Go get it.
It's fun.
Yep. Yeah, grab that. We're gonna go probably deeper into some of these other ones next week. So we don't need to necessarily do a deep dive on these.
Nope. Just FabFilter released a new plugin. What? Yep. Saturn 2. Which Saturn's awesome. So now there's Saturn 2. Yay.
We should probably get Neon next week and do some of these plugins because he's super. I think he's already got all these actually. So he's probably playing with them right now.
I think so.
Let's wrap it up with Noel Gallagher.
Oh yeah.
So I don't remember. Do we?
Noel Gallagher.
The Zero Control is on the list, Salvo. We just didn't quite get to it this week. The firmware for Argon 8, firmware for Peak, and MPC Live 2 are the big gear pieces that we didn't quite get to. We're definitely going to get to the Zero Control.
Really quick,
Did
you
Noel
can
Gallagher
totally
be in the
see that
Terminator
Ko
movie?
was shopping for chairs recently.
Yes, I was shopping for chairs.
Oh, I don't know if you saw it in the Gear-Splaining in the Shrimp Discord and the Slaughters chat. He got a new chair, and I don't know. I'm thinking about farts a lot lately because I defined an entire new.
I need a new chair. Look at this thing.
Fart factor.
The fart factor, the fart pass is what I called it.
Yep.
The fart pass filter.
Yes, the fart pass. Mm-hmm.
Hey, do we like Noel Gallagher or is he the fucker? I forget. One of the Oasis guys is a real fuck though. And one of them's like, and that's the one that is talented,
I
unfortunately.
think it was Noel the fuck up.
It was Noel who's the fucker? Okay. Well,
Yeah,
they
'cause
both
Liam-
are?
Liam is still doing Oasis without.
Yeah, they kind of both were, weren't they?
touring around that song.
one of
Well,
them
I
is
think
actually
Noel-
like a redeemable human. The other one is just like, when you hear him talk, you're like, oh, I get why he was always, his brother was trying to beat him up.
Liam is the good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Noel Gallagher may be trying to lay some framework here to say, well, the reason I was a dick and why the band broke up is because of cocaine abuse. I don't know. He's also setting himself up to be the John Connor of the revolution. Like, basically, when the robots take over, we're going to look to this dipshit to fucking lead us to freedom.
I have to call out Maz's comment really quick.
I'm starting to feel.
His chair looks like it was pulled from Katrina wreckage.
Oh, God.
Katrina wreckage.
That's one way to get him cheap. Katrina. Wow, that's a callback, man.
So I'm detecting that. I'm detecting, Dan, that your theory is that the only thing that's going to protect us against the robots is cocaine.
And Malort.
Boy, half a Lakewood safe.
Cocaine and Taco Bell, and
Yeah, I know,
perhaps
right?
some Malort.
Yeah.
I said it before. Taco Bell's never let me down, and Taco Bell also gets me up. And then from being up, I go to the bathroom.
To go to the bathroom.
Gets me up to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
I think
But yeah,
I'm gonna
no.
get Taco Bell after
Off
this.
we go.
Got to freebase Malort and cocaine
So-
in order to survive the robot revolution. That's my working theory. Salvo knows what I'm talking about.
The fuck
There
is
we
my
go.
fucking cocaine? Seriously, my nose itches.
All
Yep.
right, so let's talk about this Noel character. What's going on with this guy?
Well, he says that cocaine abuse left him hospitalized and with severe panic attacks.
Huh.
Weird. Yeah. Huh.
Huh.
Noel
That's
Gallagher, he said that he was taking cocaine.
Wait.
He was doing the cocaine every night in the
Wait.
90s, and it resulted in him suffering from brutal panic attacks.
Is that why he hit
Okay.
his brother on stage
Wait.
that one time?
Huh.
Yeah.
Is there
Like-
something I told us about cocaine?
So
Like- We don't need to
cocaine
overthink this.
Might not be good for you.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I mean, panic attacks.
I also heard that the sky is blue. Can we discuss this real quick?
Yeah,
not
right.
Cleveland.
This is news. This is
Wait,
a
hold
big
on.
deal, guys.
I thought
Cocaine might not be
COVID-19
good for
cleared
you.
up the skies in Cleveland finally
Well,
because
hold
everyone
up.
stopped driving.
It turns out he actually had a very unique reaction and revelation. He said that
Oh.
he had a few brutal panic attacks, and that's why he quit.
You know, Martin Atkins
Huh.
once told me that cocaine is a
Brutal.
sign from God you have too much money.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Upheaval says the Earth is flat as well, right? I'm gonna have to say we're gonna check in with Billy Corgan on that theory and see what he thinks. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I know what he
Yep.
thinks.
Find
though.
out from.
No, he would have said the
He'll
world
give
is
you
a
an
flat
8-hour
vampire
modular
if he
set
thought
to-
The
that.
world is a flat place.
Yes. The flat
He-
world is a vampire.
He might take his fucking tea and pour it on the ground and be like, "Look how it doesn't fall off. If it was curved, it would have fallen off." And
To
then
be fair, if
it
the
doesn't-
earth was flat, cats would have knocked everything off of it already.
He quit because he has the money. Yeah, Noel Gallagher quit because the Wonderwall money ran out.
Yeah, right?
Oh, we're on fire tonight. Let's see. Who do we torch? We torched Papa John, Billy Corgan, Noel Gallagher. They all did not get out of this show very well.
I'm so glad that Papa John made it back in. It's like he knew that we were back on the air and decided that he had to do something.
He had to
Even
do
he
Eagle
was
Clock.
like, he's like, I need to do something stupid, but they're like, I only have until like 10:30 or 11 or whenever we feel like going on to get something together. So let me just make this shit TikTok video, and then maybe next week he'll come up with something more creative for us to make fun of. I bet he's
like-
watching. I bet
he's
that
dipping
there's
his
a early
toes.
user in the stream. And and I'm looking at the list of the people that are on here right now, trying to figure out which one of you is Papa John. I mean, really? I mean, we know Solve, but do we know Solve? He might be Papa John.
You just know that, like, in a month or two,
Someone
we're gonna be on here.
Papa
We're gonna be
John.
like, I think Papa John actually does know about what we're saying about him, or like we're gonna get a cease and desist letter.
I know, right?
You know how to mix
Yeah.
electronic music?
He's like
Is,
sitting there on the
the-
YouTube VODs, like ready to type something in, but just like stopping himself because his lawyer's like, I don't think that's a good idea right now, there, John.
Who's the crazy conspiracy guy, the InfoWars guy? What's his name?
Alex Jones.
Alex
Alex
Jones.
Jones has
Yes.
a pair of
He-
CDJ
Alex
2000
Jones.
Nexus, and
He makes electronic music apparently. I can't imagine
absolutely he
it's
does. Yeah, I've got one of his
Yes.
tracks. It's actually pretty dope. Just saying,
Is it?
it is. Yeah.
I guess maybe the cocaine probably helps. him
I had
too.
to like triple check. I'm like, no, this has to be a different Alex Jones because this has like funk. This sounds really good. And then I followed the rabbit hole and went like, wow, this is all of his other music, as far as I can tell, is trash. But this one track, pretty damn good.
I think this
it.
was about 3 years ago. We went down the Alex Jones rabbit hole. Not
Yeah.
the one he wants you to go down, but just trying to figure out what his musicianship is. Because there's a picture of him. He did an interview in his studio. And in the background, there's like
Yeah.
Yamaha SH8s. There's like a mixture. There's a 303, a 909. Hold on, we gotta find it. Alex Jones music. That's a picture we gotta find. But yeah, Ko, you and I went down that whole rabbit hole and started researching like all this shit, and we found that probably, and it's hard to talk about too. Because, like, if you want to talk about it online, you have everything you type has to be prefaced with, "Oh, I don't believe anything this motherfucker says, and it's fucking awful." But also, he's got
yeah.
some dope
So
gear.
here's an interesting thing. My name's Sean Holt.
So
It legally is spelled SHAWN, but apparently there's another musician named Sean Holt, and he's a blues musician.
Mm.
And I had actually had someone contact me thinking I was him, and wanted me to come play some blues festival in Oklahoma or something like that. I almost felt like I
There you
almost
go. You
was
should have
close to
done it.
showing up, and I know, right? Would it have been great? But
I got a cease and desist order for using my name for my business
what
from
who?
another Andrew. Yes, another guy, same name, Andrew Lent. And
should
he
fight him.
said that you can't use my name for your business. And I'm like, I'm not using your name for my business. I'm using my name for my business. He's like, oh, you have the same name? Like, that's why. Who the fuck would call your business Andrew Lent if your name wasn't Andrew Lent? What the fuck, people? So then I started throwing like Highlander quotes at him, and then he just like left me alone after that. Like, there can only be one. Let's get the swords out.
There
Bitch.
can only
I want to
be
see lightning
one.
shoot out of our skulls.
So I do see an
So
808.
Matt Smith is doing classic diversionary tactics to try to prove he's not Papa John. So he might. I think Matt Smith might be Papa John.
Matt Smith from Doctor Who?
No, Maz, not Matt.
He's on,
Yeah,
he's on
his
the-
actual
he's on
name,
Maz.
he is the doctor though, but on this channel he's just Maz.
Oh,
He's a Twitch guy.
Yeah, he's just Maz.
You've probably run into him a couple times on Facebook forums as well. All right, so here we go. This is Alex
but
Jones
he might
from his
be.
studio.
I think he's Papa John.
Yeah, so
I've seen him.
in the original
Yeah.
video, I do remember he
It's-
had a Pioneer Nexus setup. Obviously the Soundcraft mixer. It's the 12 MTK as far as I can tell. There's some 303s multiple back there. 808 up on a stand right here. 909 right underneath. There you go. Yeah, so Alex
He's
Jones
got the
and
classic Brave shit.
and some Yamaha HS8s.
Yep.
So in white. Oh yeah, there's the CDJ right behind him.
Yep.
Oh, ridiculous.
There's another. I posted in the room. There's 2 more pictures of him in front of his gear. He's got a fucking. And this is from a few years ago. So like, it's you see it, you might be like, well, my studio's cool, but like, think about like 4 or 5 years ago when these pictures came out. This was dope stuff. It still is pretty much, but
That kind of looks like a like he's at a con or something. He's like, hey, so we're releasing this
Yeah.
new synthesizer.
Or a
It's coming
showroom.
out. It's coming out in September for NobCon. It's gonna have 1 LFO. We took a page from Korg. It was good enough for them. So it's good enough for us. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
the oscillators
He's
make
in-
the frogs gay.
Yeah, see, oscillators make the frogs gay.
Manager makes the flowers gay.
Nord,
I feel like Cookie
Nord.
Monster.
I'm not throwing it out, but Nord makes
I say,
that
look at that.
pussified liberal synth.
It's a
Got an SH.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. He's got a Nord.
He looks like a big
Fucking-
bullfrog.
Everyone gets a hobby, You finish work, you're done for the day.
Yeah.
He takes off his sweaty shit rag shirt
you
that he
lay down
probably
some
bleed through. Takes his nipple clamps off, and then he
yeah. Then you
doodles around.
puts on his chastity belt and fucking like tears up the town.
So, Code, didn't you know somebody who did like tech support for him?
Yes.
Was that
yeah,
you?
He actually ran his all of his network backend for like the e-commerce and for the syndication and all that stuff. Yeah. Crazy.
So apparently, and from that we gleaned that this is like rehashing a story from a while ago. It's all coming back to me. Apparently, Alex Jones doesn't even believe the shit that, or at the time, he didn't believe the shit that he says.
Sort of.
He just is kind of like amplifying the shit
No,
out
he
of it
claimed he was
because
a performance
outrage
artist.
sells.
Yeah, he does the performance artist thing, but
Yeah.
also he's kind of a nutter too.
I think, from what I've understood, is it kind of like he started to buy
be a
into it.
performance artist.
It's like a pro wrestler when they start pro wrestling. It's like, sure, I'll be the macho man, and it's like, yeah, at first you're performing, but then one day you're 50 and you're like, yeah, Wendy's, bring me the chili. It's like, Jesus Christ, macho man, do you fucking have to actually talk like that?
I would like to
like, I don't-
supersize it.
Yeah, I think
You
that
ever
kind of
see the
happened to
videos of
Alex
them?
Jones.
You ever see the videos of Macho Man when the cocaine kicks in? He's like, oh yeah!
Yeah, and then he eats a fucking meat stick encased in haggis.
Ooh.
Snaps
I like
into a
that.
Slim Jim.
Slim Jim, yeah.
Know what I mean?
All right, it's 12:09. Is anybody up that we should be raiding to? Because I think it's getting a little bit late for most folks.
Well, let's
Well,
figure that out.
Michigan, yeah, 90,000 plus people watching right there. And this is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's cup of coffee in the big time, yeah. Cup of coffee in the big time, because you'll never get closer than now. I am the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion, and I will remain the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion. And George the Animal Steel on the outside will be no factor, yeah.
You say no factor. Obviously, he is a factor, or you wouldn't even brought it up.
Oh, wow.
We're totally getting taken down on
Here
YouTube.
you got 23.
This is the weirdest no Gallagher interview I've ever heard.
Matter, no, because I am ready.
I know, right?
I will not let this opportunity slip through my fingers.
Right.
Cup of coffee, man, yeah.
Is this before the panic attacks, or is this a panic attack? I'm kind of
I
confused
think,
here.
I think it was an actual, yeah.
Let me be super clear here. Other synthesizer shows don't cover Macho Man. That's the difference you get when you come to Gear-Splaining.
And they're better for it.
Yeah, but we got a niche. We got a niche. It's kind of a fart-smelling niche, but that's fine.
So who's
Oh.
our raid
fuck.
target?
Fuck if I know, man. I took a look. This Tremendum, I don't even
Crack's
know.
on.
He's been doing mid. No, don't go to Crack. I like Crack just fine, but he's having issues, and he's probably playing the same 500 tracks that he's been playing for the last 6 years. I love Crack, but that dude needs to quit drinking as
Hands
much.
is on.
He literally, let's do drone hands. Crack needs like help, like real help. He just needs to stop drinking. All right, drone hands, let's do it. He'll also appreciate it.
It has
Drone
begun.
Hands is
Tune
a
in next
really
week.
good artist.
It's happening. Yeah.
Tune in next week when we have further adventures on Gear-Splaining on episode 54, The
I love
Return of
Crack,
Vomit.
man.
Gear-Splaining, not brought to you by Papa John's.
I'd love to see Crack not.
Thanks for being on,
Have the
Sean.
problem.
Is
Thanks for being on,
excellent.
Thanks for having
Sean.
me. Thanks for having me.
Make sure you drop by his Bandcamp.
Thanks, Sean.
Check it out.
My band camp's like right here somewhere. And yeah.
There you go.
Buy some
Got 'em.
downloads. I got medical bills to pay.
There you go, drone. 27-person raid. That's not bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, no kidding. That's most of the time I see people on there.
He